Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97 on ESPN Radio and a fine Libations Friday to you and yours. Loosey-goosey. We're online at ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you get to listen live via the streaming free always. Did I skip the word via? Sounds like maybe I did. You can email us if you like, jcs at 97.espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow. Hello, YouTubers. How are you? Florida State spring practice gets underway next week. Mike Norvell met with the press today to talk about that. Some of it is not necessary for us to play, but other parts are, and so we pared it way down and got to the things that we find interesting. And I'm not going to waste any damn time. That's how I roll on a Friday. We're going to go straight to – I'm not fooling around. It's time to get it on. Now, we have basketball to talk about, and at the end of this hour especially I will, and really kind of littered throughout the show today because we have elements of Tallahassee Game Day court report to play, sprinkle in within the Jeff Cameron Show. Got an interview with John Pak, my man Johnny Pak, now going to his second Walker Cup, which is an amazing accomplishment. Of course, John Pak, golfer at Florida State, 7-time winner as a collegiate athlete and All-American, and the next great Knoll to enter the PGA Tour, I do think. He'll join us in the 4 o'clock hour. That's going to be fun, too. But in addition to previewing the Notre Dame game and having that interview and talking some football, we've got to get to some sound bites here from Coach.
Jeff, straight to it, Cameron, on a Libations Friday.
Yeah, let's hear from Coach Norvell. Let's start with year 2 approach. Kind of year 2, not quite year 2, but this is sort of like year 2, so here we go.
I mean, how they walk through the door. There's a, when you know challenges are in front of you, I think the mindset of how you approach those challenges, there's a sense of excitement in the opportunity to have to work through it. And, confidence is built through the investment of work. And when you go through the experience, when you face a challenge, when you face success, and you see that you can overcome it, that you can improve, you'll get better. That's going to give you confidence in the future experiences of what you face. And so, truly, just the way the guys walk through the door at 6 o'clock in the morning when they know it's about to be a challenging hour ahead of them. But to do it with a smile on their face, to do it with an edge, with an intensity, and then when the adversity shows up, I mean, the way that they respond to that. And are we a finished product through 2 months? No. I mean, there's going to be adversity that's going to show up here, come Tuesday out on the practice field. Competition. Guys, going offense versus defense. Guys, in position battles within their own units. How they respond to that, how they approach that, are going to be experiences that we have to build upon. But their mindset has been really good. There's not. It's been a very positive approach among the team, and the teammates of building the relationships of kind of just grinding through it, and it's been great to see.
Whew. My man, I know you're pumped up. We're all excited. Take a deep breath. Slow down. Take your time. It's not even a that it is worked in as the verbal crutch between every sentence. It's It's not even a It's a very interesting. I don't know what that is. Those are just guttural noises. It's just strange. I'm not. It's
for it's true. This is not as difficult for the stenographer as Jimbo Fisher was, but it's in the ballpark.
Like, if you tried to write all that out, just scribble.
Well, there's a lot of ellipses and dashes, I think.
Yeah, I think you would I would do like a scribbly line. I'm just saying that would be just like
that happens to all of us.
Yeah. So the thing of it is, between all of that, you do sense the excitement, and I am excited. And I'm just having fun with you, Coach. I know you're pumped. Let's slow it down a little bit, though. It's a more effective form of communication to just talk about how those guys have a much better attitude, perhaps, than the previous group that he was dealing with a year ago. Although I will be quick to note, at this time last year, he was also very excited, and for good reason, because the buy-in was real at that point. And I remind you of that because we all get pumped around this time, but, nothing really will be learned because we can't see it. So I can't come on here next week and say, well, today at practice, like I could have a year ago and like I did a year ago, at least for 3 practices.
Oh, we're going to simulate it. Oh, it's going to happen. We're going to have a practice update from what we've seen in our mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, I'm already predicting Tuesday is going to be a banner day. I can't wait to come in here on Tuesday or Wednesday's show, Tom, and talk a lot at length about all the things that happened that we didn't see.
Do you think it'll be a good Tuesday practice?
A great Tuesday practice. One of the best Tuesday practices ever. An all-time great Tuesday practice.
Guys understood the standard. They came ready to work today. Now we have to be consistent over the next week.
It's a little bit like losing the press conference. You really can't lose the introductory press conference, I should say. When you've been hired as the new coach, if you lose that press conference, we've got problems. If you lose the effort battle on day 1 of spring practice, we got problems. It's not day 12 where things are getting a little tiresome. It's day 1. I hope everybody wants to play on day 1. Let's go.
Reminds me of the good old days with Jimbo about 10 years ago. We would have a pool before it started, just 3 or 4 media members, and it wasn't always the same group, but it'd be like, all right, is he going to like practice or hate practice today? That we couldn't see.
Yeah.
Solid. I think solid.
Yeah.
Solid day. Nothing outstanding.
Yeah. Got a lot of work. Need to get better.
Or, oh, no.
Yeah.
This was wrong. And you're like, man, I'm sure it's the opposite. I will bet you it's the opposite more days than it's not. For Jimbo. Not Mike, but Jimbo.
It's funny because we've seen the modus operandi. He went to Texas A&M, and you can pull up videos of his press conferences early on at Texas A&M, and they follow the exact same pattern as the ones here. So coaches have a way they operate in order to try to elicit a certain response or to send messages through the media or to get, obviously guys to either intensify their efforts or to back off or whatever it might be. So, yeah, there's some of that with all coaches.
Well, and as we found out, too, with Jimbo, this is from, cultivating people who are on the defensive side of the ball over the years. If the offense got its butt whooped, it was a bad day of practice for everybody. If the offense was awesome and the defense didn't play well and, they were screwing up with their assignments, still it was a great day of practice because the offense was doing pretty good.
Yeah. It's whichever side of the ball you're on.
Oh, for him, 100%.
Well, I think they will have good practices. I think this will be a very successful spring. All jokes aside, we won't see it. We'll have no way of knowing for sure. But I have a pretty good educated guess here that they're going to do well this spring because you're going to be able to coach a group that is invested and is now all in because anybody that's stuck around that's a veteran player obviously cares to be here. I mean, my God, they went through hell in order to come back. And then if you're a new player, you've got to invest. So in truth, they're going to have great effort from the kids out there, and they're going to have their attention because there's a lot of position battles that will take place starting right now. So that's another way. Competition breeds all of this. He alluded to it. He talked about competition. You're damn right. Competition's a big part of this. You want that competition to be intense. And when you've had a fledgling program, and those aren't all under his watch, but the last 4 years have been fledgling to say the least. When you've had that, the best way to get back to finding a level of intensity that you desire is to create competition position by position and let guys go to war. I mean, that brings out the dog in everybody.
Well, and the other thing, too, the good part about the access that Florida State does give us consistently is they don't have rules about freshmen or anything like that. So, if you could get newcomers or transfers, and they did the whole series of things with the newcomers. The thing I'm interested to see, and this happens across the country at any program when there's a transition, and certainly I remember seeing it when Jimbo took over here, when you get your guys and your types of recruits and your types of players, you can see the difference between the old guard and the new guard. And it wasn't just because we weren't athletic enough before Jimbo.
I was going to say, some of the new
over.
players looked like big-time football players compared to the others.
Jimbo 1.0, those dudes were mean, man. Those guys were mean. And he turned them loose in 2010 with the existing roster, but that next wave, you could see that there was a difference of who was walking in the room now and who was leaving to go on to not football as their next thing in their career. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of guys Mike brings in. What are the personality types of these freshmen or these transfers? And is there a marked difference in the way they approach their media stuff, the videos that we do get to see from practice, the closed circuit stuff they send us? Is there a different attitude about them that Mike is trying to instill? Because that's the metamorphosis that needs to happen here. What do those guys look and sound like?
A whole bunch of what for coming with them. I sure hope so. It has to be, right? And I do think that you've got a couple of guys already in these early enrollees, and let's play this clip here in a second. Coach Norvell talking about the early enrollees. I mean, I do think you have some guys that look a little bit different and probably will come with them a different attitude because they're guys that had success in high school and guys that were probably the alpha males on their team, to say the least. I mean, you got a couple kids coming here ready-made. It's surprising, but when you get a guy that comes in as 230, 240 pounds, or another guy that's 270-something pounds, one of the strongest guys on the team early on in their careers, yeah, you have a chance to upgrade at that position immediately.
Hey, Mike, how have the freshmen handled everything since their arrival in the sense of getting into the work and just buying in?
I can tell you we had 5 freshmen that came in, and we hit on all of them. As you talk about type of young man, work ethic, ability, the relationship aspect. I mean, they're remarkable. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting them out there on the field. But, guys like Malik McClain, Josh Burrell, I mean, those don't look like freshman receivers. I mean, Malik, his explosiveness, at being, 6'4", 6'5", to run like he runs, the change of direction. I mean, it's going to be fun watching him, go out there and get to play the game. Josh Burrell, I mean, is one of the strongest, freshmen coming in. He is he is a true physical presence out there. Very mature, great young man. Excited about him. Kevin Knowles. His change direction, the athleticism that he's showing, the mindset, the work ethic. I mean, he's so very excited about what he's going to bring to our defensive backfield as well. You look at Joshua Farmer, local product. I mean, is his body the explosion? I mean, he's come in, played a lot of defensive end in high school, but he's going to probably move himself there inside full time, because I mean he's pushing close to, he's over 270 pounds. I mean, just moves unbelievably well. Great young man. And then Bryson Estes is probably one of the strongest people on our team. Coming in the door, and even the things that he's been able to do this spring, it's exciting to see. Playing as a true freshman on the offensive line presents challenges, but he's a guy that I think is going to have an opportunity to compete, which I'm excited about. And so seeing those 5 guys, them coming in and just who they are, the way they move, the mindset of what they bring, it's a great group. And when the guys are able to come in the summer, I think we're gonna look back at this class and be really excited about that high school group that we were able to bring in, coupled with the transfers.
One freshman you didn't talk about was Jackson West. Just wondering how he's doing within that tight end component.
That's absolutely, and then probably a guy that's as good of an opportunity to help impact this team as anyone. Jackson has been remarkable in his change of direction. I remember I watched Jackson. He actually came to a camp when he was a freshman or sophomore, and just seeing his development. He was a guy that I don't know if he got all the attention, in the recruiting world. He doesn't have Twitter, doesn't kind of put himself, out there, but and he's been remarkable in the way that he has done in workouts, mindset, approach. He's going to be on the fast track, and I can see that in a very short period of time. There at the tight end room, we ask those guys to do a lot in where they can align, what they do, but in all aspects of what he's done, here in the first 2 months. I mean, I think he's got an unbelievable future in front of him, and he's excited to compete. Excited about the opportunity, but I think he's a guy that we have a great chance to see early in his career be able to make an impact.
Jackson West sounds like my kind of guy. There you go, buddy. If you don't have to be on Twitter and you don't have to be on social media platforms and you choose not to, good on you, big dog. There you go. You're probably sane. You don't have to deal with nonsense. Look at you.
He probably sleeps quite well at night.
Yeah. Just unconcerned with your concerns. He doesn't care because you can't get to him. I bet he isn't forthcoming with that phone number either. It's sort of like, well, we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Well,
there should be barriers.
I don't know if you've earned the right to be in my phone.
Well, that's like, I'm sure Coach Storm says it's not good for your health if you use your phone first thing in the morning or last thing before you go to bed. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's Jackson West. He's like, I don't even know what do you speak of? I only use my phone when there's a call.
Yeah, I piss off my family. I'm the phone police in my household. And I know you are too.
I don't have to be as much lately.
I know, but you are a phone police person.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I've gotten in trouble for it. Multiple people have gotten mad at me.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you don't answer the damn phone, and that's where you're like, come on, man, I'm in the group. Pick up the damn phone. But that's all of us. I mean, I've got in trouble for that too. We're like, we're getting
the phone goes away in my house, though. It goes away. Like, there are times where I just put it away.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're doing something with a family member online, or you're doing, you're on let's say you're, having a
I'll leave it on my nightstand upstairs, and it's 9 a.m. on a Saturday. We get to 1 o'clock. Oh, I might as well check my phone and see what happened. Oh, yes, you need it. You got to have it.
Well, if we go on any sort of like a vacation, or let's just say you take a weekend and go to the beach, I will snatch a phone from your damn hand,
buddy. My favorite thing to do if there's not something to watch in sports, so we go to the parks down at Disney.
Yeah,
and all I take is a credit card and a photo ID and the pass to get in, and that's it. I leave the wallet. I leave all of it. And it's like the most liberating feeling in the world. It's unbelievable. And I know I'm going to be gone from 9 a.m. until 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Who gives a damn?
And Jackson West is driving down the road right now going, you're right, Tom Lang. I don't even know you, but that's right, brother.
He goes, that's my life.
That's
not a trip to Disney.
You do that on vacation? That's what I do every day.
Weak ass.
Yeah. I'm going to go lift weights.
Set it down.
All of it. Let it go. Unburden yourself, everybody.
I'm Jackson West.
He has to talk like that, even though he doesn't. He should. He should carry a 10 star that he wears on his shirt.
So when he helps his segment mates when he's upperclassman. Hold on, big shooter. You got to get low.
Yeah. Look at my 10 star.
And then drive.
Look at my 10 star. It tells you something, doesn't it? It tells you I'm Jackson West and I get low. Superior via the Phone Hero hotline. Phone Hero specializing in iPhone and iPad repair. 2 locations, 2915 Cary Forest Parkway, 833 West Gain Street, online at phoneherotlh.com. I need to go see my friends at Phone Hero. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again here today.
Going to get a text from Austin in 3, 2, 1. Where is he, man?
Austin, I'm on my way to see you. Not right this very moment. I can't, but it's going to happen because this is driving me nuts. The lines are all they're getting bigger.
That's a segment idea. I don't know if it's a good one, but you could just get the remote equipment and then we just ride on the road with you
over
to
there?
the shop. Yeah,
and I
talk
talk
sports
about,
while you're driving.
I did a commercial when I worked at the old place. There are 2 commercials I got to dig out. One of them's really good. 2, actually, they're both really good. One of them is great. It follows me driving around town on my way over to AJ's Sports Bar and Grill. It goes.
Oh, the video?
Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember
really
that
good.
one. That was good.
Really good. And then another one is way back when in the bathroom at the Moon, and I'm peeing in the video.
Oh my!
And the camera shot is from behind, and it's.
I hope so.
It's and it's somebody standing in the urinal next to me and asking me sports questions.
Really?
And I'm annoyed. It's really, really good.
Man.
It's really good. It's funny. It's well shot. It's well done. A guy named Steve King, who I think is doing Arizona radio now out in the middle of nowhere.
I'm thankful because the way you delivered that, it sounded like who is dead and has
No.
been for years.
That's Vincent Jackson. That's not. No, I'm not. That was us during the break just now.
Yep.
You talked about Jameis hitting Vincent Jackson on a touchdown pass against the Saints.
He did. That happened.
Yeah, and Vincent Jackson's dead. I was just for the purposes of, can you believe it?
That was stunning. Yes. Not your comment, like the fact that,
you weren't surprised by my comment at all. But
No,
but it wasn't cruel and unusual or insensitive. It was just sort of.
How about that?
Yeah. Can you believe it? Is what that it was more like.
Yeah, I'd never really tied Vincent, the football player, and because he was a badass for the Chargers.
Well, it's pretty much, he had one great year in Tampa. The rest of it was all in San Diego. He was an amazing player. Listen, anymore, let me ask you this, because we're going to bridge the gap here, and we're going to talk basketball in a moment. But before we get into that, I'm curious, just a football question on a random loosey-goosey edition of the show. We often do this,
That's what
right?
we do.
Just go all over the map. Anymore, and it's not, you can't know this for certain, but we are now, I think, trained based on what's been revealed medically over the last 20 years. If a young former NFL player dies, like if somebody in their 30s or early 40s passes away and they played in the NFL and you knew who they were and they were in the league for whatever amount of time, say 10 years, do you not automatically assume that it is in some way connected to CTE? I do. I almost always do. Like the story could read that they drove off the road. And who knows? That could just be a car accident. But I'm inclined immediately when I read that, especially if they say that the person was traveling at 100 miles per hour and they went off the side of the road on a highway or something and slammed into a tree. I'm like, CTE. Mm-hmm. If they find them in a hotel room like they did Vincent Jackson, removed from his family who are in the city.
Yeah, the Homewood Suites in Brandon.
Like, what are we doing at the Homewood Suites in Brandon? Yeah, and, maybe back in the 80s, you would have thought drugs or something like that. But now you go, CTE.
No, okay, so if a musician under 50 dies, I'm assuming
Heroin
overdose. Or some sort of overdose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Black tar heroin, Tom.
Right. It's the same thing, though. Yeah. For football, specifically NFL, veterans, alum, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Almost immediately.
That's what I'm expecting to find. Stories about mood swings, different behaviors, not the person that I recognized, all that stuff. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's, I remember at one point, the conversation around CTE centered really around the NFL's denial of its existence or their efforts to hide it from their employees. For a long time, they actively engaged in trying to discredit the medical science behind all of the studies. And, at some point they realized that was a losing battle. At some point they realized it was also immoral. But,
yes.
they did do that.
Yeah, they would defend it to the hilt as the brains of their veterans look like Bill Paxton in Weird Science.
It was Yeah, and it happened time and again. They didn't want to pay the insurance money. They didn't want to pay, they want to own up to it. And I always thought, as we talked about it, the thing was for them, look, there was, I don't remember if it was John Gruden who made this point. It might have been. But he was being pressed on a Real Sports episode one time about his love of football and his embracing of football and the work hours and the violence of the game and all that. And he countered nicely. He's like, well, listen, NASCAR drivers get in a car and go 200 and something miles per hour. They damn well know the risks. They could die. If you go 200 miles per hour and hit a wall, you're probably going to die. They still do it. Are we supposed to ban that?
Sure.
And that was his response. His response was get it out there in the open. Let everybody know the risks.
Right.
And then let's play ball.
Well, and that's the thing, too, litigation-wise. There's optics and litigation. What the NFL would combat once they acknowledged its existence.
Yeah, they wouldn't admit it existed, right?
Right. Once they did, then they're saying, well, listen, you played Pop Warner, you played high school, you played college, and you're coming at us?
Yeah. Well, but I understand, yes, the legality
from a liability standpoint,
yeah.
not optics,
Right.
very different things. But I think that's a reasonable question, and that's where. But the NFL doesn't want that road to be played out either, which is why they'd settle, because they don't want kids not playing the sport. Because if kids don't play the sport because it's not safe,
then it goes away. No. There's been irreparable damage done in that regard. If you look at the percentages of kids that don't play compared to, say, even 15 years ago, absolutely, that's already happened. But that also guarantees that, for the most part, the ones that do play are very, very aware of the risks. That's just and that's as it should be. A little bit like joining the Army. Like, look, man, you could be sent off to war.
Right. Well, that's true. I was just going to say something far less important, which is if Gronk makes it to 75, I'll be surprised for that reason.
Of course you would, yes. And there are any number of – it's a morbid topic because we can do it as an aside where we pick players whose playing style suggests that's 50s. They've got no chance.
Well, and here's something that's interesting. Did Luke Kuechly spare himself enough time? Because he suffered a lot.
We'll
but
see.
Did he make it to his 70s because he stopped playing?
No. My guess is going to be no.
Oh.
No chance in hell.
Okay.
No. I'm going to guess 55 is the best option. Hope I'm wrong. I mean, he was shaking and crying as he went off the field on a cart and then played like 3 more years. I can't imagine that's good.
55 it is.
Here's ESPN Tallahassee's Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang.
Bracketology on the Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Downs and St. Germain Research, a full-service market research firm located in Tallahassee since 1981. Downs and St. Germain Research, conducting surveys and focus groups for local, state, and national organizations. You want to adopt a winning strategy, do so with our friends at Downs and St. Germain Research. They're online at dsg-research.com. Florida State having fallen to the 4 line, according to Bracketology now, just outside the 3 line after their loss to North Carolina, even though the win against Boston College followed that up. Houston, Villanova, Kansas, and Arkansas have done enough to supplant Florida State, according to Bracketology, as they've updated their numbers. That doesn't mean that that's going to be where Florida State lies. They are just outside the margin there. When you look at the average, 3.45 for Florida State, 3.38 for Arkansas, who had a whale of a week. So really going back to last week. So this is now, it's on. You got a battle with Arkansas. You got a battle with Kansas. They're all within a shot of reach there, if you will, to get to that 3 line. I don't think Florida State's going to be able to play their way into a 2. They're too far removed from that at this point. But I suppose if you win out and you win this game tomorrow against Notre Dame, and I think they will, and then you sweep the ACC tournament, well, you know, things can change because we don't know what those other teams are going to do in their conference tournaments. And so if somebody has an early exit and they're in front of you, yeah, maybe you got an opportunity to really surge. But the point would be that a lot of things would have to happen for Florida State to get to a 2 line. And a lot of you have asked me that online, either in email or Twitter. A couple of you texted me that know me, and I don't think we're getting there, guys. I think right now the fight is to try to get to that 3 line.
Yeah, I think you could possibly, like you're talking about, if everything fell correctly, you win the ACC, get to the weakest 2 position.
Yeah.
Because I see a couple vulnerabilities. Kansas did not look impressive in a win over UTEP. That's right, UTEP last night. They were trailing by a lot at the break, and then they rally late to win. So you might be able to jump them on the 3 line. But then you need, you know, some upsets in conference tournaments, and then we would need to go run the table and look impressive. Because when you get up to this part of the bracket, this is where the eye test might push somebody over the top because you're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really
and not
good
everybody's
resume
this year is the same because of the number of games played or not played. Yeah.
And we are on the lesser. I mean, if you look anybody through the top 4 seeds, I think we played the fewest games by far, right? You know, in terms of the consensus view of what the top 4 seeds look like. So with the fewer amount of chances to impress, yeah, we would need to beat the crap out of Virginia again, which we could, and a team like Clemson or a
In fact, I think we would, yes.
We might get that opportunity next week. The thing is, take advantage of the opportunity at hand tomorrow. It's a noon tip in the dump of a town known as South Bend. If you take advantage of that opportunity and you close the deal, that means you don't even have to watch Virginia and Louisville play basketball. It does not matter. The number 1 seed in the ACC is ours for a second straight year. I don't care if the ACC is down. It's embarrassing to Tobacco Road that we have done this in back-to-back years if we close it out. It's embarrassing to Virginia and Louisville and Syracuse and all of them. And screw them all because you can fly the flag. It's now yours. The ACC banner is yours 2 years in a row, and the new bloods could reign. You just got to take care of business.
I think Florida State has greatly benefited from the one-and-done era of college basketball. I think that it's hurt programs like Duke. It's hurt programs like North Carolina. I think you're seeing it hurt a program like Kentucky in the SEC right now. I think Florida State's established culture and love for one another passed on from veteran players to the incoming players that have one-and-done ability, and having those kids buy in and really not be exceptional in the sense that they're outside the culture. They buy in, they may move on. Patrick Williams moved on. Scotty Barnes is going to move on. But while they were here, they were of this culture that had been established before they arrived. And so those guys are free to come and go without disrupting the apple cart. And in the interim, you've got a lot of guys who aren't one and done. Most players aren't, who stick around and see that. And it only, I think, in many ways, emboldens them to continue that tradition and pass it on to the next group that comes in. Whether that's a transfer or a kid who's, spectacularly talented, but not going to be leaving in just 1 year. And so you're able to transition from one season to the next with that culture established. I know a lot of people believe that once the walk-ons leave, this group that has been highly touted and celebrated both by the players that are your quote-unquote starters and by the coaching staff, but also by journalists who have written about it. We feel like, well, once that group is gone, are you really going to be able to continue to foster that family atmosphere from the last guy on the bench to the first guy? And the answer is, I think, yes, because along the way, these student managers and others that have walked on have become kind of a part of what I'm describing. And so these guys will leave, but others have gotten a glimpse of what will be asked of them. It's not as if they're just going to be a brand new set of 4 or 5 players that you've never seen before. These are guys that are working their way in to that role. I think this is what Ham has rolling here. This is why they extended his contract. This is why you can get really excited about the foreseeable future. Whatever happens this year, whether they go to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, win a national championship, or they get bounced in the first round. I don't think they will, but maybe it's a tournament. It happens. You can be confident that what they are going to do is continue to win these home games like they always do, 25 straight ACC home wins now. You can be confident that they're going to be amongst the top 3 or 4 teams in the ACC, and you can be confident that they're going to put together a product that's a lot of fun to watch year in and year out and that plays for one another. That's not going anywhere. That class that comes in this next year is amongst the 2 or 3 best in the country. You have a transfer, the kid that we talked about from Houston a lot, who's a lighted up scorer, a go-to scorer.
And he's here on
And he's
campus.
already here. He's seeing this. He's amongst these kids with this culture. Listen, they're going to be good again next year. They may even be preseason ranked to win the conference. So there is so much of this right now that you can be excited about, and this is what this is all about right now until we get into the tournament itself. This is just time to celebrate another ACC championship. It's amazing, but you're right. With the resources committed by the Louisvilles and Virginias, and Virginia a little less so because they just got done winning a national championship. They don't have anything to be embarrassed about. But Louisville and North Carolina and Duke, tradition-laden programs, blue bloods, if you will, Syracuse as well, to see Florida State ascend to this position and routinely finish above them these days, yeah, that's got to be stunning. That's got to be heartbreaking for their fan base. They don't know what to do with themselves. It's a bizarro world, from a few years ago. I mean, it's something to behold.
But it is the blend of the one and dones and the guys like Trent Forrest, Terrence Mann.
Sure.
You can think about Malik Osborne now as one of those type players because you see him. This is the thing I'm looking forward to next year. MJ Walker stuck around
forever,
even though he was a McDonald's
Been
All-American.
Here 10 years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There are tons of guys like that even Raekwon Gray to a degree. You could see his leadership emerge this year. And I wonder, maybe he's the alpha that leads us into the tournament, even though Scotty Barnes has bravado and MJ Walker's got the clout and the seniority.
Oh, it has
Raekwon
to be.
Gray
Gray's the man.
Has been right.
That's a grown-ass man right there.
That's a development in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Seeing,
it is.
Okay. So,
although there were hints of it early in the year when he was talking about playing to a certain level to try to win a national title.
Correct.
That was a man out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in the media room, he made himself known early, but on the court, people come check with him now rather than he goes and checks on people. And that's great. And maybe he comes back for another year, and what a coup that would be for us. But it's just, for me, the next couple of weeks, including this weekend, are about everybody getting healthy and then finding those pieces again and seeing if everybody can get up to speed ahead of the tournament. Because Malik play on Wednesday, he was nursing injuries. And then obviously MJ, you need to see the explosiveness out of his game. If you do, before we get to the first game of the tournament, which could be Friday or 2 weeks from now, today, or 2 weeks from tomorrow, then you feel a whole lot better about our chances of getting out of weekend one and making some noise beyond weekend one.
As always, I have to make mention of this. FSU leads the series between Florida State and Notre Dame, 7-4. FSU being a 5-0 team against the Irish here at the TLC CC, as well as winning a neutral site matchup, which I never miss an opportunity to bring up. Yes, that's right. You guys recall that was the 2011 NCAA tournament when it was a second-seeded Notre Dame squad that everybody lauded because they were playing right there in their backyard in Chicago in a second-round game against a 10-seed in Florida State that most believed did not have enough offense to compete with Notre Dame. The Darling was going to win in front of their hometown fans. But alas, Florida State won that game 71-57. They kicked people in the face and chest.
There it is.
They did anything they wanted to do against those children that played for Notre Dame. The men that played for Florida State all but teabagged Notre Dame that evening, I should say. It was something to behold.
That's potentially true. I believe that. But the karate kick to the face was Okara White to Ben Hansbrough.
That's correct.
That's who it was.
Yes.
And I'm not sure it was unintentional.
Oh, it was very much intentional. He should have been thrown out of the game. I couldn't believe it.
It was Daniel from the Karate Kid, man.
I celebrated it. It wasn't quite Christian Laettner stomping on a player's chest, Kentucky, but it was, fairly obvious what was going on there.
Danielson. Enjoy that, Ben.
So, a lot of fun. Florida State has had a couple of hard-fought games in recent memory against Notre Dame. Just last year, for example, Notre Dame lost 2 tough games that they probably felt like they should have won. It led to their coach saying, we're in the league too.
Come on, man.
There it is. But
it's not the drop, but it sounds a lot like it.
This hasn't been much in the way of similarity this year for Notre Dame. They weren't that kind of a team this year. In fact, they got off to a, woeful start to the year. They began to play hard later, but boy, oh boy.
It's a good sign if opposing coaches do silly press conferences in your building. You know why? That means they lost.
And they're frustrated.
Right. But that's Roy and Mike trying to crawl through, hoops saying
Louisville's head coach.
Why they left their kids out there, the walk-ons, while they went to the locker rooms. Yeah. They're like 10 years apart, they did that. And then you got Mike Bray.
Good old Mike Bray.
He's walking off. And he's saying, Leonard's a great coach. He's a great coach. Come on, man. You got them muttering to themselves. That's what 77-4 will do for you.
One thing that has happened again this year before we head into the next hour, I do want to bring this up as we celebrate Florida State basketball on the cusp, on the brink of winning a consecutive ACC regular season title. Again, let that sink in for a second. Just let that marinate for a second. That is insane to think about. Leonard's got his props from the opposing coaches in this league. Over the last 2 years, they have fallen all over themselves to note Leonard Hamilton's acumen for the game of basketball and the job he has done at Florida State. And I've wanted that for him because I didn't feel like it was always true. I didn't feel like they properly noted what he had been through, what he had accomplished in his career. It has happened now and then some.
Well, and you've seen the groundswell for Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame for Leonard in the last year. Before it was just Dickie V, and I thought it started really in earnest for Dickie V after Leonard was the keynote speaker at one of his galas.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, it's amazing.
How that
Look
works.
At this.
Yeah. Favor's done.
So, yeah.
Yes.
But then everybody's talking because when you consider the resume and you consider the barriers broken along the way to flip program after program, Jesus, and to become one of the top 5 coaches in terms of wins in the ACC at Florida State and then ascend to potentially back-to-back regular season titles and a chance at 3 conference titles that they actually recognize. Oh, my God, the work he's done.
I continually remind people that it comes at a place that has not formed a tradition, that has not put the money in, doesn't have the facilities, so it's an uneven playing field. You're competing against teams in a conference that care deeply about basketball and have the tradition, the resources, the money, and the cachet from year to year to be able to get the interest of the best players in the world. And so that's what you're up against. So to forge this sort of career here, there have been a lot of lowlights. They had long stretches where they didn't make the tournament, and it's fair for people to point that out because it's the entirety of the resume. But you always have to keep in mind when you're doing that what the backdrop is. Against what backdrop? Put it in context. What was he attempting to accomplish? There was a reason it took 6-7 years to get to a program to the place where it could go to the NCAA tournament. You're right to say that in the modern era, that would never happen, that a guy wouldn't go to a Power 5 program in a basketball-laden conference and be given that amount of time to get there. But, of course, that's also Coach K's story, I might add, going all the way back to the early portions of his career. But when people will counter and say, well, those guys have national championships and Leonard hasn't even taken a team to the Final Four. Yeah, but Leonard took over programs that had no tradition, took over programs that did not pour the money, the resources into winning. So the facilities weren't great. The tradition wasn't great. There was no impetus for this program to become an elite basketball program, the way there was at North Carolina and other schools where coaches have national championships, plural. You always have to, you have to look at this all the way through. Is he the best coach in college basketball? No, I'm not intimating that in any way, shape, or form. But has he done yeoman's work at Florida State and turned this program into a program of great significance in a basketball conference, and he's done so with less? Yes, he absolutely has. And that's why I've wanted to see him get his just due. And he has from the coaches in this league, as you just alluded to, press conference after another Florida State victory over that school, those coaches, one by one, have stood up there and said, And I think it's come from an honest place. I commend them because I've watched Roy Williams, who we've been critical of. I've watched Coach K, whom we've been critical of. I've watched what's-his-face at Louisville, who we've been critical of. Well, we've watched those guys.
It's confounding. I know that, for a fan, you're like, what the hell is the problem? Why aren't we ready to play? And that's what our coaching staff is saying.
Yeah, so a lot of coaches have had to say that very thing after games against Florida State, but they've done so, and they've done so in a way that is, in my mind, not only right but admirable. They've done a good job. They've said, listen, he's done amazing work here, because they have to be in awe. They have to be thinking to themselves, what gives? Look at this guy. Again, I'll say this. If I were a fan of one of those programs and tradition laden, flip it. If Florida State all of a sudden was watching as, what's the equivalent?
Oh, boy. In this
Troy?
conference?
I mean, who would you? No, okay. So you want to say in this conference? Okay. If all of a sudden Wake Forest began to win ACC championships, plural, and were routinely going to New Year's Day bowl games, and this was all happening over a period of 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years.
Georgia Tech, right? Yeah.
You would have to wonder, how is that getting done?
I mean, Richie, what the hell is going on here?
That's right. That's what you'd be doing. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with. Number 2, Libations, Friday edition of the program. Hello, welcome in. Good to be with you. As always, loosey-goosey. Well, at least on Fridays. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. Director Matthew, filming the proceedings. You can email us if you like, JCS at 979 ESPN Radio. You can watch the show on YouTube if you're stuck at work. Curmudgeon boss won't let you listen on the radio. You say, I'm sneaky. Put on my headphones and watch it on a YouTube feed.
It's kind of funny to think of Matthew like coming here just to record the proceedings. Like he's a filmmaker.
He's here,
he's
yes,
like, I got to be there. I got to be and watch these guys. I don't know that he would describe it that way himself, but I like it that way better.
Me too. Twitter's at Jay Cameron Show. We're going to talk Florida State football this segment. That's what the hell we're going to do. Later in the hour, John Pak, Florida State All-American, 2-time Walker Cupper now, as he was introduced this week as one of the 10 members.
Isn't that the pitcher for the Dodgers?
Walker Cupper?
Yeah.
Soon I'll have to say the Mr. Bueller's name, and you'll get to do what you do, Trapper Keeper.
Well, the Tiger version. Put a little spin on there.
Yeah.
For the Genesis.
Yeah. But I caught up with Johnny Pak earlier this week on Beyond the Tips with Trey Jones on Sirius XM, and I got into not only him making the Walker Cup, but also, what it was like to play in a U.S. Open. Little side story, and you'll hear that interview this hour. I'll be forever grateful to have had this experience, and I don't bring it up in the interview, so I'm going to bring it up here. Little humble brag. Trey and John Pak were playing a practice round at the U.S. Open. Well, Trey wasn't playing. He was walking with Johnny Pak while he was playing a practice round at the U.S. Open. I told you the story. I called you when it happened. They were behind Tiger Woods. And, the practice rounds are really loose. It's great. Like, the guys have fun with each other. And if you ever get to go to a golf tournament and you've never been, I mean, unless, obviously I'm not going to tell you not to go on a Saturday to Augusta or a Sunday to Augusta, but if you get a chance to get practice round tickets to a PGA Tour event, take it. Because they're more apt, the players are, to talk to you, hang out with you, have some fun with you. They'll talk to kids about the kind of shot they're going to hit. I mean, I've seen guys at practice rounds invite people from inside the rope, well, pre-COVID, from outside the ropes to come in and try to hit a shot. I mean, you see weird stuff. Pros have fun with that. But so it's kind of a loose thing, but you're also doing, this is a recon mission. You're trying to figure out, where do I have to hit, especially if you're him. You're an amateur, never having played this event. It's U.S. Open. It's going to be hard. Fairways are tight, all that. He was trying to figure out where to hit, and they were coming up on Tiger Woods, and Tiger Woods is doing his recon just like all of them do. Where do I want to hit? How's the green playing here? What's it like if I get winds from this direction, all that. And they'll place tees all over the green. So when you come up on it, you can see where the last guy was looking where he thinks the flag sticks are going to be. And the more experienced the player, typically, I've been told, is they get it right. They know where they're going to place these flags. The USGA is going to place these flags. So, they're kind of riding up, and they gave Tiger a hard time. They're like, speed it up, old man. And they were filming this, and Trey was sending it to me on the phone. And I'm watching them walk up behind Tiger Woods at a U.S. Open. That's cool. That's when your job is really cool. I don't say that to brag, but it was really more like
a little bit.
Well, no, it's just really neat. Like, that is cool. On my phone, I was in the car. I'll never forget. I had dropped Bryce off, and I was sitting there at a red light looking at them walk on the U.S. Open.
Is that a better moment than meeting Jack at Augusta?
No, not a better moment than when I was in the cabins at Augusta talking with Jack. That was a cool moment. Or when I was behind the scenes listening to Citigroup negotiate with Justin Thomas's agent.
Is that who it was? It was Citigroup?
Yeah, it was Citigroup. Whom he's since lost as a sponsor.
For what? What did he do? Is anything bad happen?
Oh, man. Been tough times for him lately. That's affected him. Let's get to football, and Florida State football in particular. I sounded like a certain guy that hosts HBO's Real Sports.
That's correct. Okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah. Let's get to this. No, what I wanted to say was that we heard from Coach Norvell today, and he was talking in one instance about Mackenzie Milton. Ira Chappelle, warchant.com, asked him the question. This is what it sounded like. We'll piggyback off of that.
How do you kind of approach him, and what's good and what's not too much?
It's been a joy watching him, and I told him at the very beginning. I said communication is the key, and you put a young man in that situation coming into a new team. Obviously coming off a very significant injury. The thing that I've appreciated is he's wanted to go through all aspects. One, to show the team that he's a part of it, and especially the quarterback position. There's there's a lot of eyes on it, and he's just, whether it's our tour duty workouts, what he's doing in the weight room with Coach Storms, and we've communicated well, and there's been some things that we've adjusted at certain times, but it's been remarkable watching him, his change of direction, the things that he's done in the weight room. I mean, just the work that he does in the training room to prepare himself for the workday, but he's really I think that work that he's shown to his teammates have really built in their respect for him, because people know that it's he went through an injury that not many people would have probably come back from. He's excelling right now, and the things we're asking him to do, and we're going to be smart, just like anything. Everybody's got different situations to where their bodies are, and we're going to make sure that we're wise with all of our players. But he looks great.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, honestly, not trying to be a jerk here. You think back how long ago that was. It was in November of 2018. It's now 2021. If it hasn't healed by now, he's never playing football again, and we're all screwed. I mean, that's a long time. Now, I know it's a long road to hoe, but you go back and think about the injury he had on a Friday night, and he ends up having to go to Tampa General Hospital and be dealt with for the University of South Florida and UCF's medical staff at that time. It was a rivalry game. You go back and watch that play, and you can go back and watch, you can find a lot of photos from the moment that it happened. And it's tough to look at. It was a devastating knee injury, November 23rd of 2018. But, you can hear it from Mackenzie Milton when he talks. And that is that, he's probably tired of being asked about it. One would be after all of this time. I mean, it's we're coming up on 3 years down the road here. And B, I think he feels pretty close to 100%. He has said that he's over 90%. He feels like he can do almost everything that he did before. Now, maybe not as well, maybe not as fast, right? But he feels like he can do in terms of running full speed. And you hear about him in the weight, in the training room and in his weightlifting habits, and you hear about all these things, and you basically are being. You hear a quarterback being described as a guy that's coming in ready to play, and there's no way Florida State would have taken the chance on a kid who just couldn't play the position something close to the way he played it when he last took the field.
A couple things interesting to me. My antenna went up when Mike said something along the lines of, it sounded like he didn't want to say it, but he did offer it up that, there have been some things that we didn't agree on, and we changed expectations there, we changed whatever. So I don't know if that was on playbook, if that was on habits, if that was on what, but it hasn't been a 100%, oh my goodness, he's a complete extension to me. There is a learning process that these two are going through. And I feel like, in a weird way, among the grand scheme of Power 5 football programs in the last 10 years, we are in a unique position of being one of the, 5 or 10 markets where we have witnessed head coach and quarterback relationships, and we have to be experts. We have to be considered foremost experts on those relationships, because we've had former quarterbacks or offensive minds as head coaches, and we've had all kinds of interactions and all kinds of relationships, functional and otherwise, between the head coach and the starting quarterback here at Florida State. So I'm going to keep on paying attention to that. But the other thing I noticed is apparently everybody's change of direction is great. I think that's what we're learning here in year one.
It's called a fallback, sir.
The fallback is I hope it's not the extreme distances throwing thing, because that means we stink. But everybody's change of direction apparently is quite good before we head into spring ball.
I think the hard part is, and he touched on this, did Coach Norvell. You could look at him running, you could look at him lifting, you could look at his range of motion, you could watch him throwing a football. The truth is the speed of the game. And that's what he hasn't had to get acclimated to yet. I mean, is getting back to the speed of the game. And it's been some time. I know he practiced. But getting an opportunity to run things at full speed and repping things at full speed is going to be vital. I'm not worried about the physical anymore, and he's going to get asked about it a lot, but he's been fully cleared medically to play, period. That's the biggest news that you could have asked for and wanted to hear coming into spring football. Are you fully cleared at this point? I think certainly they sought him. They sought to bring him in here under the guise of he's going to be fully cleared. You wouldn't do it otherwise. You don't have time to waste. So I assumed that from the beginning he would be fully cleared, ready to go, and even if he's not what he once was, if he's something close to it, but more importantly, he's able to do everything you're going to ask him to do, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't know why that would be a surprise because
you wouldn't have even.
He already said he's 90%. He ran scout team at UCF last year. Like, yeah, I don't even know why that would be a question unless you're like new. And you want to see what the deal is with the football program here, and you haven't covered it yet. But yes, I expect him to be healthy for this. I expect him to be healthy all the way through. Apparently, like you said, but in the quarterback room specifically, he and Chuba are working well together. That's important. In this day and age where anybody who doesn't get what they want transfers or puts their name in the portal, it's important when the young player allows a transfer to come in and listens. I think those are the two things that I'm going to try and look for cues on as well, is how the quarterback and coach are getting along, listening to the two of them speak to the media about their relationship, and then how the quarterback, the veteran, gets along with the younger guy in Chuba. The other good news is that Jordan Travis apparently is over 200 pounds. That's really good news because he's going to have to get better at the wear and tear aspect of the game of football if he's going to be useful to us with any consistency.
Especially when he's playing slot receiver and or running back. Yeah. That's going to be tough, going from quarterback to being another position player. So.
Need the LBs.
I know that I'm making a leap there, and you have a dual-threat quarterback in Jordan Travis, but I think you got to utilize that guy as something other than your quarterback, and I think that's what they plan to do, and it will be very interesting to see that competition play out and then to hear his comments on it because, to me, this is the Mackenzie Milton show. It's why you brought him in. He has already proven himself at the college level to be a vastly superior thrower of the football. This is not really a quarterback battle to me, so I would not talk about it in those terms. Maybe it is in the eyes of Jordan Travis, and by all means, please compete. But the quicker we get to the realization that he's going to have to be an integral part of the playmaking aspects of this offense from some other position, that will be good to know.
Well, with health held as a constant, I think the future of this program hinges on, and talking about the offense, direction of the program, and culture, it hinges on Norvell, Dillingham, and Mackenzie this year all getting along, all thinking along the same lines, and that product being out there on the field, that you can see that they're prepared, they're professional, and they're ready to go. Because then you can hand it off to the next guy in Chuba or whoever it's going to be, and you have it in place. But this is critical. Like, it's not typical that you're looking for a grad transfer to instill culture. Usually you're looking for a grad transfer to put you over the top.
That's an added bonus. That's true. This is an ancillary benefit of bringing in Mackenzie Milton, the human being, the person who is lauded by all who've ever been around him in that capacity as a tireless worker, a guy that helps build great camaraderie in the locker room, a guy who is beloved by his teammates and whose work ethic is infectious. Absolutely true. So in addition to his skills, his unique skills as a player, his 37 touchdowns to, 9 interceptions that year and 4,000 yards and an undefeated season and everything else he did that season at UCF that we all went, oh my God, who's that kid? He's also a great kid off the field and does everything you'd ask of him in those rooms. So that's important. You're right. And that's another reason they brought him in, because they needed that bridge. They had to have it. So they hit a home run with that. That's why we were all stunned when he said yes. He could have gone anywhere. Lots of people wanted him. Why would he say yes to this place after going 3-6 with a suspect offensive line and a culture that was, ass?
Yeah, coming off of an injury where you don't want to get hit as much anymore because now you've already been broken.
It's because he liked what he heard and saw from that offense. He remembered Norvell at Memphis and what they did there, and so I don't think we're going to have a problem with seeing eye to eye on play calling or the offensive structure.
Yeah, to me, the thing that generated the most optimism so far this offseason is not today's press conference.
No.
It is the conversation he had with Jameis and Bryant McFadden when they had the Meet the Newcomers thing for the boosters, and he's talking about the simplicity of the things he sees, the things that have been missed by the quarterbacks that are playing here. Well, he didn't say the quarterbacks suck. He's saying
he kind of said the quarterbacks suck.
You get him into the run checks. There's certain you could tell that he looked at the film before he said yes to Florida State. He's like, Oh, my God.
There's a play to be made. There's a play to be made. Oh, my God, they're leaving it on the field. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
of
can't
course.
wait to be able to ask him when his time is done here. Hopefully it's successful and it does launch us off, where you could say, so how many points a game were we leaving on the field? I can't wait, because you can tell he saw it. He's like, Jesus, we could score 40 a week.
Yeah, but he might be, I mean, he strikes me as the kind of kid that will never roll any of those kids that are left behind after he leaves. So you're not going to get an answer to that question. He's going to say, well, you know, I mean, there were certain things. He's not going to tell you.
So 13 points?
Yeah. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. John Pak going to join us next. Stay tuned. Really quick, Knowles finished second at the Cabo Collegiate. They didn't get to play this year out in Cabo. Instead, it was held in Texas. It was cold and it was windy. And they were against the number 1, the number 2, the number 6, the number 4, the number 13. Yeah, the Florida State golf team is number 3 in the country right now. Bottom line is this. They're really, really good. John Pak was announced to make the Walker Cup team for the second time in his collegiate career. That is amazing. He was 3-0-0 when they played at Royal Liverpool in the first Walker Cup, in which the United States was able to defeat the combination of Ireland and England, and he has an opportunity to do it again. What a remarkable career. What a remarkable young man. I caught up with him earlier this week. Did an interview with him for the PGA Tour show that I do on SiriusXM with Trey Jones, the head golf coach at Florida State. And Pak was, as always, insightful and humble and interesting. And we went from the last time I talked to him here in studio, coming off that Walker Cup appearance, and everything that's happened since then, which includes him being the low-am at the U.S. Open, him winning 2 more events. He's now won 7 times in college. You know how hard that is? He's an All-American. He's a remarkable young man. He's a Knoll, and he's going to be playing on the PGA Tour in the not-too-distant future. So this is me with John Pak. I'm looking at the flag that you gave me that you signed when you came in studio to do our last interview, and that's the last time we talked. So, man, congratulations yet again, and you've been doing nothing but kicking butt from the last time we talked to this time.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I like to do that, sign a flag for, someone that had me on the show, and, I appreciate you bringing me on it once again.
Yeah, I've still got that flag. It's in studio now. People see it, and they smile, and I smile too, because knowing all the hard work you've put in, and I've watched from afar and certainly listened and had the great opportunity to talk to you. Congratulations again. What's it mean to you to be named to the Walker Cup again? I know it seems certainly to be a foregone conclusion, but there's a lot of work between that time and this time, and I know you've had to put that work in, and you got to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, like I've told many people this, but the Walker Cup in 2019 was one of the best experiences of my life. So to be able to represent your country and, be able to do it 2 times is, not many amateur golfers have been able to do that. So I'm just so excited, and I'm just really looking forward to it because I know how much fun it's going to be.
So, John, take me through, here you are, a senior now. Since the last time I talked to you, you've won a couple more college events again. You were the low amateur at the 2020 U.S. Open. We cannot not talk about that. In fact, I get all geeked out. Trey probably cringes as I do this interview instead of him, because I come at it more from a fan standpoint, a fan of college golf, a fan of golf in general, and I sit in awe while I watch guys who work so hard, accomplish their dreams, and then for you, obviously, to be the low-am at the U.S. Open. Take me through that whole process. What was on your mind after you had done well and you qualified and you got the opportunity to go to the U.S. Open? Go ahead, start from scratch, and tell us what that was like again.
So, yeah, I guess right after the AM finished, I think I had to wait a week before I figured out whether I was in the Open or not. Mm-hmm. So, man, that was one of the most stressful weeks of my life, because you had to wait for the ranking, and I was right on the borderline, and I went for a jog. Wagger updates every morning at like 10 a.m. on Wednesday, so I went for a jog with my brother in the morning, try to get my mind right, or mind off of it, and then I walked back into my house, and my parents were just banging on the window, like screaming, "You got in!" So yeah, that was the start, and it was. My whole idea behind going to the Open was just to get as much experience as I can. I went up to so many different guys and just, did my best to learn from the experience. And I think, I made the cut, and I think I finished 52nd. And I learned that they had the stats and everything. So I saw that I finished like within the top 25 on driving and irons, almost dead last in putting. So there's a lot of different things I've learned that week, and that was just my main goal, is just to get as much experience as I could.
John, I wonder, okay, so as we go through this, obviously this time around it was far less strenuous in that you made it early. So it wasn't the same situation. Like, you secured your spot early on and not having to worry about it as much as it was the last time. And obviously that's the better way to do it. But I am curious, so when you go through I mean, it's the U.S. Open. Does that ever, as you're going through that, do you ever, I guess you don't, but do you pinch yourself and say, I'm at the freaking U.S. Open?
Honestly, I know this might sound a little crazy, but I wasn't that nervous.
Wow.
I guess, Coach Jones put it this way. I was playing with house money that week. I wasn't that nervous, but, it did hit me a few times when I was walking down some of the fairways. You look to your right, you see Tiger Woods out there, and it did hit me a few times. I was like, oh, my God, I'm actually playing in the Open. So, yeah, it did feel really cool to, finally feel that way. You dream of that as a kid to actually live it.
John, I bet there's a big difference between taking the time, maybe taking a step back, a breath in, looking around, recognizing your surroundings and what it means and what it's meant to you as you've worked so hard, but then seeing guys like Tiger Woods, as you noted, and the rest of that field, and every 2 seconds somebody passes you that you've seen win on the tour, or certainly a guy that's maybe ranked in the top 20 in the world. And I suppose there's a big difference between having an appreciation in that moment or being awed by the moment. And it seems to me when I talk to you, John, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there aren't moments that are too big for you. You don't seem, whether it's your performance in the Walker Cup, whether it's your performance throughout your college career and the successes you've had there. It's hard to win a golf tournament, and you've done it multiple times. And certainly, as you described the U.S. Open, when you go low am, that you weren't in awe, you just appreciated.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right about that. I've worked so hard my whole entire life. I made some big sacrifices moving down to Florida with just my dad in high school, and I think I've earned the right to appreciate that. I've worked hard enough to be at the point I am at right now. So, I feel like I've worked hard enough not to be shocked by having good results.
Yeah, in essence, John, in essence, you deserve to be there, right? You deserve it.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel.
Yeah, well, no, and so the numbers and everything else bear that out. I mean, I know you don't want to brag, and so I'm bragging for you. But in truth, I think, I honestly think that's one thing I've noticed over the years in talking with, whether it be professional golfers, professional athletes in general, or those that aspire to be professional athletes. It's not this sense that I got lucky. It's this sense that, look, man, I've put in a lot of work. I've made a ton of sacrifices, and this is my just reward for putting in the time for those sacrifices. So, I mean, for those of us watching back home and seeing your performance and rooting for you, it's larger than life. But for you, this is what's earned for a lifetime of dedication.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, starts back when I was maybe about, I think I started golfing when I was 7, and I played decent when I was 12 in a tournament, and I thought, I was like, maybe I could do this for a living. So I packed up all my things, and me and my dad, we moved down to Florida when I was a sophomore in high school, and I was homeschooled, and it's just practice all the time. So I've definitely put in the work and sacrificed quite a bit. So but I couldn't have done this without my dad. So, he pushed me in the right direction. So I'm very fortunate for that.
I'm picturing, we have listeners all over the country, and they're listening right now and say drive time in Los Angeles and places like that, John. And I wonder, is there something you tell, young golfers about how to persevere? Because I can imagine. And there are a lot of people who listen who grew up playing sports. I grew up playing sports. We all did. We love it. That's why we're in this business. Whether it's tennis or golf or soccer or football or basketball or whatever it is, sometimes you get to a place where you're burned out or your brain's fried or you're not sure you can get up and do all that's necessary again tomorrow, let's say. And then you have to push beyond those boundaries. Is there advice that you give to those kids that might be listening to you, a two-time Walker Cupper now and a guy who was the low amateur at the U.S. Open and certainly looks to be headed towards the PGA Tour in the not-too-distant future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I can't stress this enough, is to have fun while you're doing it. You got to create ways where you practice and enjoy. And I think the reason I got so good in college was because I had my teammates around, and we'd always do games and, practice together, and it just made it a lot more fun. And then another big thing is, and especially golf, you don't get to win a lot. So I was fortunate to win my very first year at a home tournament my freshman year. And just that feeling of winning just makes me want to work hard. Just, if I have a bad week, I just look back and I'm like, remember that week, in 2017 or 2018 when you won that tournament and how good that felt? I want to get back to that feeling. And, that just pushes me to work harder and, want to be better. And I think just having that motivation, I don't know, could be, it could be something else, like in football, win the high school state title or something, and you just look back on that, and it just motivates you to want to do something even better than that or bigger than that. And I think that's just super important, just to find the right kind of motivation.
John, I'm wondering, you mentioned after, and this is the last I'll mention the U.S. Open, but it was an unbelievable achievement. You mentioned they had all the stats there for you, and that there you were in the top 20 in the event in driving and some other statistics, but you were down near the bottom in putting. Did that surprise you? Because I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't seem to me that people project you as a guy that will be a dominant guy off the tee, let's say, on the PGA Tour. I don't know if that's distance or what that might be. Or was there no surprise to you? Because when I think of you, and I've had the good fortune of going out and watching you play, including this past week when you guys played here at Golden Eagle, I always think that when you stand over a putt, I'm like, well, he's going to make this. Like, the confidence you exude on the green is something that ever since I saw you play as a freshman, I thought, okay, well, this is a guy who really believes in what he's doing as he sits up there. And we've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit and talk, and I know your routine. So I guess, were you surprised that you did so well off the tee and not as well on the green?
I think my game is kind of more like, golf's funny because my freshman sophomore year, I hit the ball really well, and I kind of struggled with putting. And then in past few years, my junior and senior year, I started to putt and chip really well, and didn't hit the ball as great. So it kind of fluctuates. Mm-hmm. That just happens a lot in golf. And then I guess at the Open, wing foot, I don't know if you know much about the golf course, but those greens are borderline impossible.
Yeah, it's a U.S. Open, yeah.
Yeah, and a guy like me who's never played a PGA Tour event, and now I'm playing in a major, the greens were a little tricky, and it's just, I've never putted on something so slopey and undulating. So I think that was one of the, main issues I had during that week. But recently I feel like putting's been one of my stronger suits of the game, and just got to get that ball striking dialed in a little bit and get it going.
Hey, John, I'm going to let you go, but before I do, you're on the number 3 team in the country, and you are arguably, obviously, the most experienced and lead dog of that group. What a great team you have right now. Maybe expound a little bit. I know you're having fun. It's good to be back playing golf, but it's also good to have a situation like the one you have, where you're a team now that has won. You've played against the best in the country. You're doing it again this week there in Texas. This is fun. You guys have a chance to maybe make a real run at this thing as one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We have a very good chance this week, and we had that we had Vincent Norman, who transferred out of Georgia Southwestern. The kid, he is very good at golf, and he's actually leading the tournament right now. And we've got some talented freshmen, another transfer, and it's just a very different team, a lot different from all the years I've been, and definitely the most talented and best team we've had. And I think if we play well, we're the best team in the country. I'm very confident in that.
John, best of luck. Congratulations on all of your successes, including being named again to the Walker Cup. Can you grab me another flag? Can I get another?
I can make that happen.
All right. I want another flag. I want 2 in here. I'm just going to drape the studio with John Pak signed Walker Cup flags, man. Hey, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure, but it's always a pleasure, brother. Be well.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. You take care. Back earlier this week. Take a modest fitness goal, something as easy as, say, losing 5 pounds or improving your cardio. Start simple enough, but that's just it. You have to have something to aspire to. Orange Theory Fitness will help you crush those goals, no doubt, no matter how big or how small they may be. Funny thing is, along the way, you'll notice others achieving their goals too, and you'll root for their success. You can tell they're rooting for yours. You're not alone at Orange Theory Fitness. You're part of something bigger, something positive, something that combines science, coaching, technology. It all adds up to improve your overall health from the inside out. Orange Theory Fitness changes your metabolism for more caloric afterburn, more results, more confidence, and ultimately, what we're all after, more life. For more information, go to orangetheory.com or visit them, one of their 2 fitness centers here in town at 1321 Thomasville Road or 1400 Village Square Boulevard. Begin your journey towards more life today at Orange Theory Fitness.
This hour on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you by AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping. AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping reminds you to prepare your property for hurricane season. Call AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping today, 385-3319. That's 385-3319.
It's our 20th anniversary at Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, and we're celebrating with our President's Day sales event going on right now. Save up to $11,000 on remaining 2020 Rams in stock, or 0% APR for 72 months. The only truck to three-peat as Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. You get great savings during our President's Day sales event today. Jeep continues to bring you huge savings, like the 2020 Jeep Renegade, Compass, and Cherokee, with up to $7,000 off MSRP, or 0% APR for 84 months. Dodge Power Dollars are as strong as ever, with up to $8,000 off MSRP on 2020 Dodge Challengers. All going on only at Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram on the corner of Capitol Circle and West Tennessee Street, where we're right on the corner and always right on the price. All prices are plus tax and dealer fee. Must qualify through CAP for 0%. Dealer retains all rebates and incentives.
Keith McNeil Plumbing is family-owned and operated and has been since 1978. With over 80 employees and hundreds of years of combined plumbing experience, Keith McNeil Plumbing guarantees same-day service and customer satisfaction. If you need service for a water heater changeout, sewer replacement, dripping faucet, a natural gas install, or roof treatment, you name it. If it is an appliance repair, Keith McNeil Plumbing is there for you day or night, offering 24/7 emergency service. If you need service today, call the most reliable experts in the business. Keith McNeil Plumbing, 850-391-1417. That's 850-391-1417 for a free estimate.
Springtime brings madness.
Gotta hurry! Up! Oh, no!
Baseball.
Drive to right! Very well hit! Way back! Knock, whack! Tollywhack!
And the most beautiful deck weather of the year. And as we all phase back into normal, the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway reminds you every night of the week is a good time at the CP. Weekly specials include Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the all-new Martini Friday nights. Enjoy handcrafted martinis and live music every Friday inside or on the CP's outdoor deck, which now includes covered seating and brand new fire pits. As for the games, they're even bigger and better as the Corner Pocket has added more TVs throughout, including a Vegas wall with 65-inch flat screens. Come check out for yourself today. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, right upstairs from Munchie's Pizza. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
In the past few years, our region has been hit by several major hurricanes. Even storms that make landfall miles away can disrupt our lives, cause extreme damage to your property, and put your loved ones in harm's way. Don't wait until it's too late. Call AAA Tree Experts and schedule your appointment today. AAA Tree Experts can get your property properly prepared by removing potentially dangerous trees and branches. Hurricanes don't run on your schedule. Be prepared now. Call AAA at 850-385-3319.
Keyshawn Johnson, Jay Williams, and Zubin Mehenti.
I wouldn't hesitate to move Russell Wilson if somebody like a Deshaun was available. I would even look at Sam Darnold if he becomes available. What I'm looking to do if I'm Pete Carroll and I'm Snyder, the general manager, is I'm looking to continue to play defense, run the football, and every now and then I'm going to hit some explosive throws. That's it.
Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio or streaming live on the ESPN app.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio. It's Libations Friday. Brought to you by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
So Nick Faldo apologized to Rickie Fowler.
This is a good start to his story.
Faldo quote tweeted a response to a tweet that noted that Fowler has yet to qualify for the Masters in April, writing, "Good news is if he misses the Masters, he can shoot another 6 commercials that week."
Turn down for what?
He's getting ripped for it. Faldo is.
Nope. His stock looks like GameStop about a month ago in my book. It is shooting up the ranks. That's awesome.
So he doubled down.
Yes.
I'm going to pull this up now so that I get it right. Okay, sports fans, out of my own curiosity, what would you rather have? A boatload of cash or your name in 3 green books? And he's got his...
Turn down for what?
So he doubled down after he got ripped by people on Twitter.
Oh, man.
And then he showed the green books that he's a part of.
That's aggressive for Nick. That's not like him.
He's got a problem, clearly, with Rickie Fowler. He has since kind of walked it back.
Kinda? Please tell me it's like passive aggressive.
Well, he says that he this I don't like. Don't do this, Nick. It's fine what you said. You said what you meant clearly. And you meant what you said. You don't have to come back and say, well, look, I'm sorry. I did it for motivation.
Oh, Jesus. Motivation.
He said he's an admirer of Rickie Fowler, and he wanted to spur Fowler on in his apology.
His stock looks like GameStop 3 weeks ago now. It's just plummeting. What are we doing?
Quote, like everybody, we want him to find his game as soon as possible. So 5 years ago, he was voted by the players as the most overrated player on the tour. It motivated him to go and win the Players the very next week. So a couple years later, when things were going quiet, I said to Rickie, hey, I need to give you a bit of a needle mate to motivate you. And he said, bring it on. So years later, I hope he remembers that quote.
Oh, boy. That's no good. You know, it's funny that he made sure to mention the most overrated player remark, because that's a dig.
It's another shot. Another shot.
But now it's a window into his ego, which is now rivaling Jim Nantz, because he's thinking that he will be the one to change Rickie Fowler's career. Or at least that's what he's going to come up with to lie, is that, well, I'm such a powerful figure in the game that it's going to be me who makes him better. By putting bulletin board material together?
I'll give you more. He said, I wish Rickie well. I want him to play great. Get out there, play to the top of the leaderboard, and that will all be fantastic for everybody involved.
That is the British bless his heart.
Faldo went on to blame his British style of humor, saying, in the future, I'll refrain from digging in a little bit too deep there. He can't stop himself. He's still ripping. Every time he talks, he's ripping more. That's if to say, Rickie must be fragile. I won't needle so hard anymore if you can't handle it. I mean, that's implying that the guy is fragile, right? In his mea culpa, He also conceded the comment was probably born out of a bit of jealousy. He noted that unlike Fowler's seemingly endless list of blue-chip sponsors, he only has one television commercial, and it's the one with the shoes.
The shoes.
And he got killed for by Club Pro Guy, which was hilarious. And then he's sensitive, too, because Faldo went back at him and made him pull it. Like
What?
Oh, yeah.
He made Club Pro Guy pull
You can't find that. You can't find the video that he did.
How can you make Club Pro Guy do anything?
Because he used the product that he's pushing, whatever those shoes are, and said that it's slander or whatever he said, and Club Pro Guy had to pull it.
Okay. But even if it's for satire, now that's interesting. I believe satire is protected. Maybe
it is
Club Pro
protected.
Guy didn't want to take the lawyers into that.
He didn't want to get involved in all of that, so he just said screw it and pulled it. But that gives you a window into Faldo, too, because he couldn't handle that.
Yes, he is pushing the ridiculous shoes.
The square shoes or whatever they're called. Yeah. The Club Pro, if you can find it, and you can't, Director Matthew and I looked for this because I saw it. I buckled over with laughter. It is awesome.
So the moment that I cringed the most in Rickie Fowler's career, I told you this before, he was doing a big feature interview. It was like because Jack Nicklaus hosts a tennis tournament on his property, and they raised tons of money for his children's hospital. Jack's always been great about that. But it was Andy Roddick and Rickie Fowler and Jack. And so it's an interview with the three of them comparing notes on what it's like to win at the highest level. Of course, Jack's won a lot more than the other two. Right. But they asked Andy if he approached majors differently, Grand Slams differently. And he's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And Rickie was like, no, it's a golf tournament. You prepare the way the golf tournament. And Jack cuts off Rickie during his answer. He goes, no. A major is different. You have to approach it differently. Now, Rickie, the important thing is, I'm like,
man, that is cold.
So Jack straight up, while Rickie's doing a fluff piece for Jack, he's like, no, you suck. Your approach is wrong. And that made air. No, man, that's not good.
I'm in the middle on Rickie with all of this, and I've told you that before. I think we make there's no getting around right now. He is not in good form, and we've seen guys go through this, and I'm going to suggest that he'll come out of it at some point because the game is rich. He's got a lot of game, and he's won on the tour. It's not like he hasn't won on the tour. He's won a lot on the tour, and he did win the aforementioned Players, which gets started next week. He's nowhere close to form to winning the Players now. He also had a bunch of runner-ups that one year in majors. And two of those he played exceptionally well. He didn't choke. Somebody else just played better. And golf is like that. I mean, if you go out, hey, ask Phil Mickelson at the British. I mean, you can't ask him to do anything else. It's just that Stinson decided I'm going to drop a 63 on you and have a good day. I mean, what the hell do you do, right? So there's a difference between guys who can't close or never show an indicator that they can't close and then guys who have actually gone out and played really well and been a little snake bit. And Rickie's had both happen. And I think that all that has to happen for a guy early in his career, we see this now with young players, all that has to happen, no matter how it happens, whether you back into it or you go get it, win one of those, and this all goes away.
That's correct.
And it just goes away, and you're no different player. You're not any different.
No, I'm old enough to remember Phil and the discussions for years and years
and
years.
got pissed.
And the press conference was
I'm not trying to win one major. I'm trying to win a bunch of majors.
It was the press conference that happened every 4 times a year for nearly a decade. Mm-hmm. But with Rickie, there are two things that just aren't likable. Number one, he gets every contract just because he wears colors. Lots of colors.
Right. Well, Puma branded him right.
And then, but it's not just Puma. They put him on, mortgage commercials and all kinds of crap.
What's he supposed to turn that down?
Of course not. But it's resented because it's like, okay.
Yeah, you're not winning, and yet you do
because he's wearing bright blue. Congratulations, he got the commercial. And then the second part of it is he's always hanging around.
Well, I rip him for that.
Stop that.
But that's a modern thing. These guys come up really friendly with one another in a way that's listen, this is where I am get off my lawn guy and like the old basketball players and the old football players and the old tennis players and the old soccer players. Like, it's mortifying to old competitors when you go back how friendly and chummy everybody is in these sports now with each other. Despite being on rival teams competing for championships, there's a whole lot of let's hang out, even the week of the championship. I hate that. It bothers me to no end. Now, I don't say much about it because it is very curmudgeon, but just stop already. These guys standing around the 18th green, hugging everybody for the times that they win, and you still haven't won, man, go home. Go home and work out why it is you can't close or haven't closed or what it is you need to do. You don't have to be there congratulating every Tom, Dick, and Harry for winning a tournament.
You could take a selfie with him on Monday. if it's important to
right.
you.
It feels very much like they want to be seen.
Oh, Bubba is the king of that.
But at least Bubba's won championships.
But he started it, standing around the green when anybody else wins, and it's like Bubba does. What does Brooks have to do with Bubba? What is? I mean,
nothing. Nothing.
Congrats, big shooter. It's like.
Well, my favorite part is when you watch some of the times when the guys, they blow him off.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen them. Brooks has just blown guys off. Now, there was the legitimate appreciation for Tiger Woods winning at the Masters, and Brooks stuck around to give. I mean, he was impressed. Brooks has told people that changed his opinion of Tiger.
Yeah.
Not that he had a bad opinion of Tiger, but now that Tiger could beat him like that there, he was like, okay.
Well, and
Respect.
Tiger waited for him at the PGA just the year before,
Well,
which was
because
awesome. That was
he got
crazy.
boat raced, yeah, and he was like, holy moly.
Way to go, Brooks.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good round.
Got some stuff.
Usually when people do that for me, people die. I mean, they crumble, but they die inside.
Yeah. No, that's crazy that they sit around wanting to congratulate everybody all the time. If I'm 10 shots back on a Sunday and my round ends hours, before, I'm not sitting around like an a-hole.
Except for Bernhard, who got blown off by Tiger.
Which was brutal.
But what's clearly happening with Bernhard is he's getting smashed.
Yeah.
He's getting smashed at the Augusta, bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, we should go talk. I don't know what accent he would have. German.
He'd have a German
We
accent.
should go talk to Tiger. We should go see Tiger. This would be great.
Yeah.
And they're all like, awesome. And then Tiger's like, hey, everybody, how you doing? Except for Bernhard.
Well, and that was weird. I don't know if he just didn't see him because there's nobody that doesn't have immense respect for Bernhard Langer.
Yep.
That dude, go look up that guy's record. Holy moly. Bernhard Langer's not having it.
Oh, he'll make the cut again this year.
Well, he'll not only make the cut, but he'll threaten to win a damn PGA Tour event every year. You're like, what in the world is Bernhard Langer's in 7th, everybody? Is anybody looking at this?
Yeah, the Champions Tour hates his guts.
Oh, he wins everything.
Like, even the TV crews are like, so Bernhard's 3 shots out of this on the final hole, and he will take his time. He will always take his time.
He's grinding to make that putt. He's grinding to make that
He
putt.
must makes his putt.
Yeah. No, but it's impressive. He keeps himself in unbelievable condition.
Except when he's getting smashed on Sunday at Augusta.
Because he can afford to. Because the rest of the year, he is probably running 20 miles at 4 a.m. I mean, my man is a Greek god.
He walks up to Rickie and he's like, I made more money than you did on the Champions Tour.
Yeah, because I win every week.
The
every
purse
week
is like 1/10 the size, and I still make more money than
Do you think some of the older guys that never won on the PGA Tour, we see this sometimes, guys that never won on the PGA Tour, they get to the Champions Tour, they get their first ever victory, and they're like in tears because they toiled. And do you think they just hate his ass? Like, sir, you won majors on the PGA. Go home. Go enjoy your life. I've never won a damn thing.
Go die in Bavaria or
I
something.
lost by 2 strokes to you because you shot a 62 on a Sunday. I've never won anything ever. You took my 65 and threw it in my face. For what? Win number 250? Jeff Cameron Show, at least for this week. And I do appreciate you joining us on a Libations Friday, glorious day, loosey-goosey edition of the Jeff Cameron Show as we celebrate spring football getting underway officially next week. But Coach Norvell addressing the press, Coach Storms addressing the press today. Means it's time to get it on, to get hyper-focused on a little spring football. By the way, we're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. Don't miss anything, but if you do, go back and get caught up at your leisure. As if you missed something that you find particularly interesting, you can find it on Apple Podcasts. We'll post it there when the show ends. On YouTube, you can find it as well. Hello, YouTubers. You can email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. On Twitter, at jcameron show. May have said that, and I think we're caught up. Yeah. Mike Norvell talking to the press today. I'll be more interested next week once we get things underway, but you get the big overview here. We took some snippets of Coach talking, things that we could kind of look into and discuss a little bit more, further the conversation, access fodder. And at a time like right now, I think a lot of people are excited about the program for the first time in a while. Not because they think Florida State's going to go out and win 12 games, 10 games, 11 games, but because they think Florida State is getting better. And also because, in truth, and this is the part that interests me most, not only did they get some pieces that are going to help out, but they get to coach them. They get to do their job. They get to do the thing they didn't get to do last year before the season began. And I think it obviously had a devastating effect on the team. I don't know that they would have been very good. They really lacked talent. They were slow. Not a lot to be excited about, really, with any segment of this football team. And then the areas where you thought they might be good, those guys decided not to play real hard and got out of shape. So you just didn't have much to hang your hat on. And I have not really – I don't think I've been overly critical of this coaching staff after a 3-6 season because of those things, because I feel like they never really had a chance. I've been critical of Adam Fuller because even though that defensive unit lacked talent, lacked speed, lacked football skill, they also weren't coordinated. But other than that, I haven't been real harsh on anybody. I thought there were elements that improved the offensive line, for starters. I thought game planning, certainly when they were on script, was very good on offense. I thought there were signs that there was good things to come down the pike if they could ever really, really implement the offense they wanted to run. But I just it's hard in year zero when you didn't get a chance to have a full spring and to continue to build these kids up and instill them with confidence and get them in the best shape possible and put them in positions to succeed and actively coach them and coach them hard and not be worried about walking on eggshells because you're fearful that somebody's going to opt out, which would have been their right to do so, especially during a very, very trying campaign. But this is like a legit year one now with some tools to work with, some people that can really play a little bit. So that's exciting.
Yeah, the thing to like about last year on offense was the ingenuity and the scripting. Was the fact that we were going to run the ball with physicality no matter who the opponent was. We were going to come at you. We created good angles. You could really see how the machine worked behind the scenes. And then we finished on runs. I enjoyed watching LaDamian Webb. I'm going to miss him. But in general, there was an attitude that came with that I liked. And I think had you had a full spring, the summer of continuity for the workouts, the D-line would have been really good. It might have been, dare I say, as good as the hype around it preseason because the kids would have been stronger. They would have had the wind to do it. And also, you would have had the ability to coordinate the back end a little bit better, know what you are, know what you aren't.
Correct.
And then on offense, you probably would have been able to script 25 plays if you needed to because you've got more of them that you know how to run.
Everything about the team would have been better if they'd been able to have a normal offseason, a normal summer, a normal spring, a normal fall, all of it, without question. So I give them the benefit of the doubt. In short, that's a nice way of just saying I give them the benefit of the doubt. Got a long way to go. There's some things that I want to see improve rapidly because I'm a little suspect of certain aspects of what's going on defense. But honestly, I come into it with the slate wiped clean, not embittered, not angry, not with a grudge. I'd chalk up last year to being an unmitigated disaster because of circumstances that are out of their control. I mean, that's what that feels like to me.
Well, and if they're improved this year to the point where they win 7 or 8 games, maybe 9 if they get lucky and the ball bounces the right way.
Recruiting's going to really take off then.
And they take off from there with recruiting right, and then also more wins because they've got better players to scheme around. We can look back on 2020 and dub it the 2020 preseason.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting you bring that up. You get a get-out-of-jail-free card with last year. So in the sense that you were able to accomplish anything while all of this disastrous stuff was going on around you, maybe you got, in a weird way, I hesitate to say this, a head start. Because if I'm not going to count anything against you, it's like I'm ignoring the whole of what happened. But some of what happened, very little, but some of what happened may have been good. There were kids, certainly in that locker room, who bought in, that have returned to play. There are ways of going about your business that were able to get across, and they were able to teach and coach up and instill. And I think certainly aspects of the offense that you're talking about did work. And so, yeah, maybe you don't have to go back over that and relearn that and reteach that, yes. But other than that, you really didn't have much going for you. And Norvell has asked right out the gates here, what is your year 2 approach? And we're going to hear that audio in a moment. But honestly, I feel like it's year 1.25, year 1.5, right? It doesn't even feel like it's a real year 2. But it's one that he's got to be excited about. Here's Mike Norvell.
I mean, how they walk through the door. There's when you know challenges are in front of you, I think the mindset of how you approach those challenges, there's a sense of excitement in the opportunity to have to work through it, and confidence is built through the investment of work. And when you go through the experience, when you face a challenge, when you face success, and you see that you can overcome it, that you can improve, you'll get better. That's going to give you confidence in the future experiences of what you face. And so, truly, just the way the guys walk through the door at 6 o'clock in the morning when they know it's about to be a challenging hour ahead of them. But to do it with a smile on their face, to do it with an edge, with an intensity, and then when the adversity shows up, I mean, the way that they respond to that. And are we a finished product through 2 months? No. I mean, there's going to be adversity that's going to show up here. Come Tuesday out on the practice field. Competition. Guys. Going offense versus defense. Guys. In position battles within their own units. How they respond to that, how they approach that, are going to be experiences that we have to build upon. But their mindset has been really good. There's not. It's been a very positive approach among the team, and the teammates of building the relationships of kind of just grinding through it, and it's been great to see.
Well, for starters, if that wasn't true, you wouldn't know it. So, you take that with a grain of salt. He wouldn't get up there in the opening press conference and say, I'm really concerned the attitude here is terrible. None of these kids like each other, and we're going to suck. You wouldn't get any of that. So, take it with a grain of salt. I think the beginning of what he stated there is all that really matters, which is that you've got guys coming in ready to work. Good, because there's no way that any of them can't know that they've got a long way to go based on what just happened a year ago, based on where they're at in terms of if you're one of these incoming players, and we'll get to early enrollees in a second, but if you're an early enrollee, well, yeah, man, you're going from high school to college football. The only mindset you can have is I need to soak up all of this information. I need to keep my mouth shut and work hard and try to make an impression on coaches. I mean, that's all you do. I went away to play college, and I was scared to death, and anybody that's ever done that, and you don't say anything. You put your nose to the grindstone. You shut up and you work. And that's whether you got a new coach or an old coach or a veteran system or not. That's just what you do. So, of course, they're going to have that mentality. The veterans that came back, well, they just went through a 3-6 season. What the hell are they going to do other than work? I mean, if you're still here, you must be committed to the work. So I'm not surprised to hear that everybody's shown up with a good attitude to work, because that stunk last year. You don't want to go through that again. Everybody's dedicated to getting better at that point. That's important. It's important to know that, okay, you're in lockstep here to put in the time.
I think since we can't see it with our own eyes, and maybe that'll change over the course of spring practice, it sounds like Mike was at least leaving the door open for that. But what we're going to be listening for in the tone of answers, because we cannot see it with our own eyes, is, okay, how does he deliver these lines about the work? Does he sound relieved? Does he sound like there's almost an omission? There's a character under the words that's telling you it wasn't like this last year, but it's like this year. That's what I'm listening for. Is like, okay, that's more like it. Those kinds of cues within how he's delivering the answers is what I'm going to be studying from Mike Norvell, because it couldn't have been up to standard last year. It's impossible to be, one, because of the pandemic, and two, because of all the eggshells we've talked about a lot, which is, hey, man, you need a roster to field. And these kids don't even have a life. Like, less than they normally do as student athletes, they don't have a life, because you're putting them in a bubble without putting them in a bubble. So I'm listening for those kinds of cues of, okay, this is more like it. This is the program that I want to see, because I can put my hands on it again.
That was true of the fall, but they were all in on the spring. They only got 3 days.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fall.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about COVID spring. Like
what I'm saying is in the spring, they were all in. They were doing exactly what he's saying they're doing now. Right.
They were looking straight ahead at the
goal.
So
in that sense, oddly, nothing has changed. All the committed and the hard work and the mindset, it was all there last year at this exact time. Everybody was committed. Everybody was ready to go. Everybody was locked in. Unfortunately, after 1 day of pads, that all went away, and they didn't get a chance. He's got to feel relieved and excited. In a way, I'm just thinking about football practice. I'm trying to harken back in my brain. Football's hard. On one level, nobody wants to go to football practice. It's part of what you have to do in order to play in the games. Everybody loves playing in the games. Everybody loves winning. Everybody loves the glory that comes with that. But to arrive at that place takes extreme sacrifice. And it is a given for anybody that plays football. You just know this is going to suck, but I have to do this because I really want to do this. I care about playing on, in their case, Saturdays. I care about winning. I care about achieving. I care about becoming the very best athlete I can become and the best teammate I can become. You better have that. There's no way to go through the grind or the climb in their case. There's no way to go through that without that firm grasp of reality, which is this is gonna be tough. That 6 a.m. workout he's talking about, nobody wakes up at 5:30 and goes, this is going to kick ass. Nobody. And if they do, they're an anomaly, and it's a little weird. I mean, it's just a little weird. I don't care if you love the game. If I woke you up every day at 5 a.m. and told you you're going to go hit 700 golf balls, and you did that for a week straight, you love golf. I think at some point you'd be like, Jesus, this is not all right, but okay, because I want to get better. I want to be a scratch golfer. I want to play. You know what I mean?
I hit 700 pure shots a day. Do I need to be here still? That's what I think.
So it's just that has to be the mindset of anybody playing the game of football, especially, I can't imagine, but playing it at this level where guys are elite athletes and you're going to be competing against elite athletes. Other teams are doing that. The teams that you want to beat are doing that. You better have a good attitude about at least showing up and putting in the work. You don't have to like it, but you do have to want to do that to get better. You have to have that desire inside. I got to imagine every one of these kids have that because all they've known is losing. And if you're new, well, then you don't know any different. That's just what you have to do.
What we want to see and what we hope to have seen as media members when we could view practice is you want to see him break down the old and build up the new. And he was starting to do that.
He was.
Through 3 practices. And it's just impossible to hear that in a press conference and say it's working because they're all going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, this is just rhetoric. Yeah. Here's Mike Norvell answering a question from our friend Chris Nee of Knowles 247 about early enrollees.
Hey, Mike, how have the freshmen handled everything since their arrival in the sense of getting into the work and just buying in?
I can tell you we had 5 freshmen that came in, and we hit on all of them. As you talk about type of young man, work ethic, ability, the relationship aspect. They're remarkable. looking forward to getting them out there on the field. But guys like Malik McClain, Josh Burrell, those don't look like freshman receivers. Malik, his explosiveness, at being 6'4", 6'5", to run like he runs, to change direction. It's gonna be fun watching him go out there and get to play the game. Josh Burrell, is one of the strongest freshmen coming in. He is he is a true physical presence out there. Very mature, great young man. Excited about him. Kevin Knowles. His change direction, the athleticism that he's showing, the mindset, the work ethic. He's so very excited about what he's going to bring to our defensive backfield as well. You look at Joshua Farmer, local product. Is his body the explosion? He's come in, played a lot of defensive end in high school, but he's going to probably move himself there inside full time, because he's pushing close to, he's over 270 pounds. Just moves unbelievably well. Great young man. And then Bryson Estes is probably one of the strongest people on our team. Coming in the door, and even the things that he's been able to do this spring, it's exciting to see. Playing as a true freshman on the offensive line presents challenges, but he's a guy that I think is going to have an opportunity to compete, which I'm excited about. And so seeing those 5 guys, them coming in and just who they are, the way they move, the mindset of what they bring, it's a great group. And when the guys are able to come in the summer, I think we're gonna look back at this class and be really excited about that high school group that we were able to bring in, coupled with the transfers.
One freshman you didn't talk about was Jackson West. Just wondering how he's doing within that tight end component.
That's absolutely, and then probably a guy that's as good of an opportunity to help impact this team as anyone. Jackson has been remarkable in his change of direction. I remember I watched Jackson. He actually came to a camp when he was a freshman or sophomore, and just seeing his development. He was a guy that I don't know if he got all the attention, in the recruiting world. He doesn't have Twitter, doesn't kind of put himself out there, but and he's been remarkable in the way that he has done in workouts, mindset, approach. He's going to be on the fast track, and I can see that in a very short period of time. There at the tight end room, we ask those guys to do a lot in where they can align, what they do, but in all aspects of what he's done, here in the first 2 months. I think he's got an unbelievable future in front of him, and he's excited to compete. Excited about the opportunity, but I think he's a guy that we have a great chance to see early in his career be able to make an impact.
Well, he's as it pertains to Jackson West there at the end, he's 6'4", 235 pounds. Yes, that is a body type coming out of high school, Huntsville, Alabama. Not what you expect to see. Most people don't come in that thick and have a body type ready to play. So if he can pick up the offense and he's at a position where they really want to utilize a lot of guys, then yeah, I could see that happening. That doesn't sound like overblown hype. I don't know. He can. We'll find out. That's a big if. It's a big transition to go from playing in high school to college. So we'll see.
Well, he's got a lot of hype to live up to, not just Mike Norvell's comments there, but as you talked about off the air before this, the name. That is a legendary name.
Oh, what a name.
If your name is Jackson West, you're going to some sort of Hall of Fame somewhere.
Well, I don't know about Hall of Fame, but certainly you've got to play well. You got a name to live up to.
He was, Jackson West.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a starting tight end in college football to me. Jackson West. Yes, but then again, it sounds like a erudite sort of country club guy as well. He's a jack of all trades, Tom, that Jackson West.
See, that's funny. Usually when you name a person like this country club, I do see that first.
Usually that jumps out at you.
I'm like, oh, that guy's on the tee, and he's like 120 pounds soaking wet, and he's got a real Napoleon complex, but he can hit the ball a mile. Jackson West, I see somebody that really is like just a country strong dude who has always been really easy, lays back in the cut, doesn't care too much, easy breezy, but he's got some game now.
I like to read about the Old West. It fits in with my need to kind of track down the way things were and old, archaeological studies and things like that. He feels like a guy that I would have read about. Seldom mentioned Jackson West was a scourge of the Montana, like that kind of thing.
The song John Henry was based on Jackson West.
And what a great song it is. Yeah, man. He talks some about Mackenzie Milton. We played that for you last hour, so I didn't go to it again here. If you want to hear that, go to Apple Podcasts when the show's over. You'll get to hear it. Go back and find it for yourself. But, it's exciting to hear from the coaches again. It's exciting to get to talk about some of these players that are going to help shape the future for Florida State. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Let's switch gears, talk basketball with a little bit of a court report element in a moment. Damn right we are. Tallahassee Game Day Court Report. Good times. This is the one where we get to tell you who we think is going to win. Hint, hint, Florida State. But my man T. Lizzie over here doing the hard work with Hamalytics. He and Chris Malagon putting in the time, and it's worth your time to go check that out. Read it on warchant.com. But also, I like to pick your brain in these spots to derive or to learn what you were able to derive from those numbers, because the biggest talking point for this Florida State basketball team right now isn't about whether or not they're going to win this game. It's about seeding, and it's about how do they play away from the TLC CCC. And there seems to be this idea, certainly, that they are a decisively different basketball team when they are on the road than when they are at home. Now, that's evidenced in the record in that they're 3-3 on the road. But it's also evidenced in the numbers, one would think, because we look different. It doesn't look as if we shoot the ball nearly as well. I would suggest for most teams, the vast majority, if not all, teams in college basketball shoot better at home than they do away. The question is whether or not, is it markedly different? Is it appreciably different? And you did the research to find out if that were so. So delve into those numbers now and tell me what you found in regards to how we shoot the basketball from all aspects, all over the floor, the 2, the 3, it doesn't matter to me, from the free throw line, you name it. How do we shoot on the road by way of comparison to at home?
All right, so I didn't really look at free throws because the sample size is a little small. And if you remember a couple of those games, you have weird goings on. Like the Louisville game, does it really matter how many times you're fouled?
Right.
Leonard was pissed off at our effort at not getting to the basket against Clemson, and that's one of your 6. So now 2 out of those 6 are completely irrelevant. The Miami game, too, the blowout, I think we went to the line like 7 times. Those officials that night were like, let's move it along.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Yeah.
I didn't look at free throws, but what I did look at was 2-point baskets, 3-point baskets. From twos around the basket, inside the 3-point line, wherever you want to look at it, the difference is really negligible.
Okay,
there's no difference.
I would have guessed that, Tom. I would have guessed that.
So on the road, they shoot 57.1% around the rim. At home, 57.3%. No difference. It's 3-pointers, man. They don't hit the broadside of a barn compared to what they do at home in the 6 games they're on the road. At home this year, they would be the number 1 team in the country if you just took their 3-point percentage at home. Baylor is the best in the country right now. They shoot 42% for the season from 3. That's absurd. We shoot 42.3%. We shot. It's past tense now. We're no more home games. 42.3% for the season at home from distance. On the road, it's an even 32%. And if you look at where the shots are coming from, be it the wings or straight away, we're god-awful on the road from the wings or straight away. The corners were okay no matter where we play. So if you're looking for valued shots that have proven to be successful both at home and away, the corner threes are the place to go. If we're hitting from the wings, think MJ Walker, right? MJ Walker is bread and butter. He likes to hit from the wing. If we're hitting from there, then we're breaking the trend. And I did break it out by the typical guys who shoot from the perimeter. MJ shot 53.6% from 3. 53.6% from 3 at home. 11.8% on the road. 2 of 17. Anthony Polite shot 50% at the TLC CCC. 19 of 38. He shot 36.8% on the road. 7 of 19. That's not bad, but it's not the level that he's shooting at home. Raekwon Gray, remember, Leonard said he's worked on that shot. He's going to show that shot. The next game, what happens? Raekwon Gray flashes from 3. 7 of 18 at home. 1 of 8 on the road. He's not comfortable enough to take that shot on the road. The only player who's had a reasonable amount of 3-point attempts at home and on the road, who's better on the road, is Wyatt Wilkes. Wyatt Wilkes on the road is 44%, 11 of 25. At home, he's 33%, 11 of 33.
Yeah, and that's problematic for a big reason. He's not very good defensively, so you don't really want him in the game for an excess of minutes. He's got to be a heat check guy.
Right.
If he's hitting shots, you get him the ball, but you got to get him out of there on the defensive end most of the time. So this is going to be the story of Florida State's postseason. This is going to be Florida State watch, right? This is what we're looking at. How do we shoot the ball when we get up to Indianapolis? Because this is right now. There's a lot of window dressing going on. Tom, you got the ACC tournament. I was asked by a former player this morning. He said, "Do you think we can get to be a 2 seed?" I said, "Dear God, no, I don't. We're hanging on for dear life to try to become a 3 seed in a lot of areas. A lot of places, as we talked about on Bracket Matrix earlier in the show. We're a 4 seed right now. We have fallen down that line because of the loss to North Carolina. And Carolina didn't do us any favors by turning around and losing. But the point would be, I think if you had some guys fall along the way, and if you were to win the ACC tournament, the best you could do is become a very strong, maybe an elite 3. I don't think you can get to a 2 without a lot of help. So
yeah, unless the committee values the Big Ten less than everybody else this entire season.
I don't know how they could.
But I don't know how you agreed.
I don't know how they could.
It's not like the ACC is robust.
No, and I've been watching a lot of Big Ten basketball lately down the stretch. You know what? That's a damn good conference. Those are good teams. There are a lot of good teams. Illinois is for real. Michigan's for real. That's a good league.
So one thing on three-point shooting real quick, just to finish it up, this is the conclusion of the article. There's more awesome stuff in there, and I hope you guys check out War Chant, the stuff we're doing, because for the tournament, we're going to do even more, which is great. But apparently the lighting and the situation at the Civic Center is the best in college basketball, because not only does Florida State shoot 10.2%,
everybody
better,
else shoots well here too.
8% better.
Yeah.
8%.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that too, because it leads into the common complaint from Florida State fans that we don't guard the three-point line. Simply not true. When you watch those guys knock down a lot of really tough shots. Listen, Virginia got housed here and hit a bunch of really contested, difficult, sidearm leaning to the left, shooting million miles over you. They had no business making
Boston
some of those
College's
shots.
kid hitting them. You got UCF beating us by hitting a ton of threes.
Yeah. People come in here and they like to shoot.
So if you look at overall defensively what we do, at home, we allow opponents to shoot 40% from the field. That's really, really good, by the way. That's like elite. On the road, it's 39%. We're actually better on defense.
Yeah.
They shoot worse from three, markedly worse. They shoot 28.2% from three on the road to our opponents. But you just got other problems like turnovers, and that's one of the key areas.
Not going away, Tom.
You've been lamenting it. We turn it over at home anyway. If you looked at our home numbers, we average in our 13 games 13.1 turnovers a game. Where would that rank in the country? 153rd, so decidedly average. A little bit above average, but decidedly right in the middle. On the road, we're averaging 14.7 turnovers a game. That would put us 257th in the suck category.
Well, I have really talked about this at great lengths to the point where people are probably tired of hearing me saying it. I criticize us even after big wins because we turn over the ball way too often. Per possession turnovers are a real problem for us.
Correct. We've had 5 instances of 17 or more turnovers in 19 games. That's simply not good enough.
Well, and if you're trying to project out to a path to a Final Four, none of it involves giving good teams extra possessions, especially if they're live ball turnovers, in which Florida State has had games in which they do that too. Those are transition buckets. Those are fouls. Those are a lot of things that are bad. So that's the area when I'm pinned down, what is the undoing of this team in the postseason? They're going to turn the ball over against somebody who's good, and they're going to lose. It's as simple as that, because you can't overcome that against good teams.
But you know what's crazy? Razor sharp focus and execution against Virginia. That's one of the most complete games of the year. I'd put that up with, NC State, you shoot 70% for the game, and then the first half against Louisville was ungodly. That's the only instance in which they turned it over fewer than 10 times in a game. Only 5 that night against Virginia. So if you don't turn it over, that's what you can do. You can annihilate a team who's a top 25 team.
Yeah, that would probably feel a little bit more like an anomaly.
Agreed. I'm not saying it's normal, but it's also in them.
Yeah,
the clunker is in them, but then also they've proven at least once that they can do that.
The ceiling is a national championship, but the problem is trying to do that, the razor-sharp focus aspect of what you're talking about, 6 times. You're not going to play to that level of execution and proficiency 6 times because the other team's going to do something about it.
Right. Well, how many times do you really need to do it, though? Maybe 3 out of the 6? But that's the thing that Leonard's getting at, and that's what I think frustrates him about this team. He said as much. I don't know that it's something that keeps him up in the middle of the night, but when he says that it's an indictment on us that we can play like we do against Virginia, he knows that it's in you guys, but you go to this other place when you feel challenged and you summon much better focus. But then there are times when your focus is lapsed. And so that's the challenge of the next week, is to try and build some habits, if possible, tomorrow against Notre Dame, and then obviously in the ACC tournament up in Greensboro for 2 or 3 games. And if you could do that, then maybe he feels better about himself. But you can tell he feels like he has to micromanage this team in a way he did not last year.
At this juncture of the season, we're who we are. They're not going to suddenly develop new habits. they're a team that has a weakness, and that weakness is turnovers, and they're going to continue to do that. Now, maybe not to the extent that it gets you beat, because you can minimize these things and you can hyper-focus on these things, and you can bet that they're not going to be lackadaisical when they're playing an NCAA tournament game. So you're right. What comes with the territory of entering into the tournament is the knowledge that if you lose, you go home. So it automatically ratchets up that intensity and that focus. You're right. But personnel-wise, they don't have Trent Forrest. They don't have a guy that takes care of the ball the way you would like.
Agreed. 100% agreed. But one thing I'd say is we do have some precedent here in the last 5 years of seeing things that we didn't expect to see. Remember, when we lost to Louisville, the tournament was up in Barclays. It was in Brooklyn. And McDonough, at the end of the broadcast, is going on a rant about why we shouldn't even be in the tournament. I mean, we're like, what are you smoking, pal?
Yeah.
And then that's the team that goes to the Elite Eight and is within a couple possessions of the Final Four because they found defense out of nowhere. Like, we were discovering it ourselves. It happened against Xavier. That was the revenge game against Mac. And we're like, whoa, well, that's different. It continued against Gonzaga. And you're like, holy smokes, this is unbelievable. It might have been in reverse order, but you get the point that out of nowhere, some new trend developed. So I know that's not likely. I just hold out hope that maybe there might be something that comes along with the finality of things.
Well, we do know that last 10 that they used to focus on all the time, that the committee allegedly looked at closer than they did the other games, which we thought was bogus on its face. Like, a game's a game. Whether you play it the first week of the season or the last week of the season, a game counts as a game. Stop telling me about these last 10 nonsense. Well, when that debate was raging, people would say, there is no indicator that suggests, positive or negative, that the way you play your last 4 games has any indication of how you're going to play in that NCAA tournament.
Right.
I mean, there have been teams that brutalized people on their way to the tournament, desperately playing their best form of basketball on the year, sweeping through a tournament as a 6th seed when nobody thought they could. And you're like, look out, dangerous team. If you're going to pick an upset, pick this team because they're on fire right now as they enter the NCAA tournament. Peace out, game 1. Have a good day, because your foibles are your foibles. And then there have been teams that lost their last 4. You're like, well, I don't know. Those last 10, they were terrible. They looked like they were absent. Well, maybe they were complacent. Maybe they knew they were in. And all of a sudden, ratchet it up. Boom, here we go. Sweet 16, here they come. So you're right. We could get into the postseason and all of a sudden see this team play their best basketball for weeks on end. It could happen. That's why I keep saying their ceiling, without question, is to win the national title. I just think ultimately, though, at this juncture, you are who you are, and that will come back to bite you if you've got weakness. The team that wins the national championship is never a Cinderella team. It's not. It's a team that's been good all year long. At some point, those teams' weaknesses, the ones that are shocking in their victory for a reason, they get exposed.
So here's a question for you. Right now, March 5th, what do you feel is more likely, if you had to rank the likelihoods? A Final Four appearance or being bounced in the second round?
Bounced in the second round.
Yeah, I agree. I'm projecting all these things and these optimistic, the potential for outcomes. And
but I'm not picking them to be bounced in the second round.
Nor
you just
am I.
asked what was more likely.
What's more likely?
Yeah,
I would agree. I would agree.
I agree with that. We'll come back, wrap it up momentarily. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Also, this is Tallahassee Game Day Court Report. We do have to do the prediction. We didn't get to it, so maybe we'll just double down here with a Lane's Medical Shop prediction in just a second. Time for our predictions. Lane's Medical Shop sponsoring those with locations in Colquitt and Donaldsonville. Lane's Medical Shop offers all your medical supply needs. They even have delivery and emergency service available as well. Lane's Medical Shop, 229-758-9111. It's also the final segment of the Jeff Cameron Show, kind of a mix and match sort of thing here. I got the Noles winning, Tom.
Okay. I'm a little more worried after doing the numbers diving because
home and away.
Well, it's just, confidence begets confidence at the free throw line. It does from the 3-point line. So let's say you miss your first three. I don't think we blink at home, but do you blink on the road? And that's what has me worried. And let's say Notre Dame comes out and they start shooting well because they're airing it out. They know this is their last hurrah together, senior day, all that stuff. So I'm not ready to pencil it in. I expect to win, but it's not like I'm banking on it like it was Boston College on Wednesday. Two very different feelings. On Wednesday, it's like, oh, whatever. Tomorrow, it's like, all right, guys, don't mess this up. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm not as worried. I maybe it's because I'm suspicious of Notre Dame's effort level. I'm not real sure, judging on their last 4 efforts, that we're going to get Notre Dame playing very hard. Now, that's hard to know.
Final time putting on the uniform.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's hard to know. You just can't really know that. But I'd like to think that they're playing out the string. They look like a team that's kind of playing out the string. And typically teams that are playing out the string have entered into a mindset that they can't recover from. You don't just suddenly decide after just not really playing very well for 4 straight games, hey, let's get after it and pull the shocking upset today. For what? For what? You're not going anywhere. What the hell's that going to do you? Other than some pride at home for one last time.
Moms in the stands.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. We'll see. But I think Florida State's too skilled, too good. So I feel good about it. I like Florida State to win and wrap up this regular season ACC title. And again, you can't state what a big deal that is. You can't state it enough. What a big deal that is. It's really, really, really impressive to lose 2 lottery picks, and your emotional as well as skillful leader in the form of Trent Forrest. That guy meant so much in so many aspects, not only in quality of play and skill and talent and heart and hustle, but he was a perfect representation of what these last 4 years have been at Florida State. That culture that was developed, the buy-in, and the leadership. You lose all of that, and you're going to win this thing again in one of the most trying years anybody could ever remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had 2 stoppages that stunted your own development and growth. You weren't able to blend together all those new pieces in a traditional way in preseason camp. I know everybody had that problem, but for us, we had attrition. If it was last year's team and there was a break, you'd be like, wow, what an advantage for us, because we already know where everybody else is going to be on the court. This year, it's like, you got to still figure that out. And we were very much sorting things out by New Year's. The first, second week of January, we were sorting some stuff out. I think for me, one of the keys of the game is just going to be looking at MJ and watching his shot from the perimeter. I'm not expecting him to be involved near the rim, and we talked about that a lot yesterday. He's more of a spot-up shooter right now than anything else.
It's really what he's become.
The key to the ACC tournament will be how healthy does he look attacking the basket. You got another week to recover. Did it make a difference? But for tomorrow's purposes, let's get our confidence going from the perimeter. Let's hit some perimeter jump shots, guys. And then let's wear the black hat again. Let's get that mean little snarl in our face a little bit more. Close it with a bang. Be defiant to the end, because that's what we are. We are the new bloods. Adopt that personality.
By the way, as an aside, and perhaps because we're so locked in at the conclusion of a basketball season and upcoming March Madness campaign that everybody loves and embraces and celebrates, but on the side, I'll be watching very closely this Florida State baseball team, which comes into a series against Virginia. And Virginia, many people think, have one of the best rotations in the country. We couldn't hit Pitt. Well, we hit Pitt once on a Sunday. Still lost the game. Florida State's 2-4, folks, 0-3 in the ACC. It's not out of the realm of possibility that this turns into a tough weekend again because of Virginia's pitching. We said last week, it's too early to panic, but you have our attention. This is going to be an interesting series. Virginia's a top 15 team. They, too, though, have stumbled out the blocks. They're 1-2 in the ACC.
We flipped the rotation around a little bit. You got Meat talking about mechanical adjustments for some of his guys. Like, okay, All right. Because, sometimes I can be this guy. You get on the golf course and you're rat trapping a little bit, and then you get mechanical. And it's like, well, the moment you go mechanical, that's it. You're screwed. So let's hopefully we get the feel back a little bit. Need the feel.
Yeah. The one aspect of the team so far that I have been pleased with, by way of comparison to, say, last year or the year before or the year before or the year before that, is they're doing a better job of picking up the damn baseball. And that drives me nuts. They are picking up the baseball. They're just not pitching real well, but they are picking up the baseball. So that's good. That'll stick with you. And I have faith that the arm's going to come around. And I actually have faith that the bats will come around. I mean, I just think it's early, and, I'm not going to go crazy on this early on. But if you get swept again, you are creating real problems. So knock on wood.
Let's not get swept
again. Let's just.
Can we do that?
Let's get our first ACC win of the year. Let's do that.
A quality win at home.
Maybe we get two. That'd be great. Go ahead and win a series. Everybody kind of calms down if you win a series.
There's nothing in the rule book that says we can't win a series this weekend.
I think I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I think Florida State bounces back.
Ooh.
And then what?
With two
out of three.
Oh,
2 out of 3, buddy. I feel it. I feel pretty good. Hey, as an aside, what else we doing this weekend besides enjoying great weather, celebrating the fact that we live in Tallahassee, Florida? You look around the rest of the country, they're freezing their ass off. This is good times, man. Deck weather at your favorite bar. If you're going to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, maybe you're going to Bumpus, maybe you're going to Gordo's, maybe you're going to any number of places that we have an affinity for.
This is one of those times of the year, and today at Corner Pocket, they always push it. They sponsored today's program every Friday, Libations Friday.
Damn right they do.
They got martini specials, and people love them some martinis and live music. They also have, since it's like one of those times of year where it's warm during the day, it's still cold at night, they've got fire pits outside.
Fire pits, baby.
They've got covered seating during the day on
Not
the big
sand
deck
pits,
outside.
but fire pits.
It's worth stopping by. And if you haven't been there yet, after years of our recommendations to try their menu, what are you waiting for?
Food's good.
The menu whoops ass. The wings are killer. The sausage bites are a personal favorite of mine. But then also you can get the steak sandwich. How about a little steak sandwich on a ciabatta bun?
I say that to my wife all the time, and she says, stop it.
You want a steak sandwich?
I go, hey, how about a little steak sandwich? She slaps me.
A little sausage bite?
It'll be a good weekend, man. Enjoy it, everybody out there. Have fun with your friends, family, significant others. If you can, do it so safely, obviously. And enjoy the sports. There's a lot of good sports, Florida State specific, all that. We got spring football next week. Let's get it on.
No 3-putts, everybody. Come on, let's go. Good lags.
I got to
get in that tap-in range.
Well.
Some groups are more friendly than others, but get in that tap-in range.
Tom, give me a 30-foot putt, I'll put it to within a foot and tap in. Give me a 5-foot putt, I may 3-putt. I don't know what's going on. I'm domed.
We can work on that.
We're going to have to work on it this weekend in glorious weather.
Thursday